Hare Krishna. Should I turn it off? Oh. Gour Premanandi Hari. So we want to welcome everybody very much. Sadhana City Prabhu, nicely come. He'll do a little bhajan, and then
Guru Vandana, Harinam. Finish after.
Maybe we may have another bhajan after that, and we have some talks. We have some very special devotees here today. Already, Shoti Maharaj, his former Ram Vijay Prabhu, had a lot of association with Guru Maharaj, my old friend, whom I haven't seen in 20 years, something like that, long time. Yeah. So, Sadhana City Prabhu.
निताय गौर सीतानाथ प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल निताय गौर सीतानाथ प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति सपदा कार्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातनं सहगण रघुनाथं तं सविजं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादन सहगण रघुनाथ नमयं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते गौर गोविंद स्वामी स्वामी स्वामिनेति नामिने नमयं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जय पताका स्वामिनेति नामिने नमोयाचार्य पादाय निताय कृपा पदायिने गौर कथा धामोदाय नगर ग्राम तारिणे नमयं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिचारु स्वामिनेति नामिने नमयं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते सुभग स्वामी स्वामिनेति नामिने नमयं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी स्वामिनेति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादे पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः हरे नाम एव केवलं कलौ नास्त्येव 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 गतिरन्यथा हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पथे गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधाकांत नम तप्त कांचन गौरांगी गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विषभानु सुते देवी प्रणामामि प्रणामामि हरे प्रिय भिन्ना वै तुलसी देवै पिया वै केशवश च विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्यै नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा 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 भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे गुरुदेवर कृपा करे गौरवन माझे गद्रमे दियाछ स्थान गुरुदेवर कृपा करे गौरवन माझे गद्रमे दियाछ गुरुदेवर कृपा करे गौरवन माझे गद्रमे दियाछ हर कृपा करे गौरवन माझे गद्रमे आगा दिला मोरे रोजे बसी आगा दिला मोरे हरि नाम कर गान কিন্তু কবে প্রভু যোগ্যতায় অর্পিবে এ দাসের দয়া করে আর কিন্তু কবে প্রভু যোগ্যতায় অর্পিবে এ দাসের দয়া চিত্ত স্থির হবে সকল সহিব চিত্ত স্থির একান্তে ভজিব হরি একান্তে ভজিব হরি চিত্ত স্থির হবে সকল সহিব একান্তে ভজিব হরি একান্তে ভজিব আরে শৈশব যৌবনে জড় সুখ সানে অভ্যাস হইল মন্দ গুরুদেব শৈশব যৌবনে জড় সুখ সানে অভ্যাস হইল নিজ কর্ম দোষে এ দেহ হইল আমার নিজ কর্ম দোষে আমার নিজ কর্ম দোষে এ দেহ হইল নিজ
কর্ম দোষে এ দেহ হইল
ভজনের প্রতি বন্ধ ভজনের প্রতি বন্ধ আর নিজ কর্ম দোষে এ দেহ হইল ভজনের প্রতি বন্ধ ভজনের
প্রতি
বার্ধক্যে এখন পঞ্চরোগে হাত কেমনে ভজিব বল গুরুদেব বার্ধক্যে এখন পঞ্চরোগে হাত কেমন
ভজিব
গুরুদেব বার্ধক্যে এখন পঞ্চরোগে হাত কেমনে ভজিব বল গুরুদেব বার্ধক্যে এখন কেমনে কাদিয়া কাদিয়া তোমার চরণে কাদিয়া কাদিয়া তোমার গুরুদেব কাদিয়া কাদিয়া তোমার চরণে কাদিয়া কাদিয়া তোমার চরণে
I'm just trying to find my wife. You didn't see her? Didn't see where she went?
এইবার আমায় দয়া করো এইবার আমায় দয়া
করো
পতিত পাবন শ্রী গুরুদেব এইবার আমায় দয়া করো পতিত পাবন শ্রী গুরুদেব এইবার
দয়া করো
তুমি করিলে দয়া করিতে পারো এইবার আমায় দয়া করো করিলে দয়া করিতে
পারো এইবার আমায় দয়া করো
তুমি করিলে দয়া করিতে পারো এইবার আমায় দয়া করো স্বামী গুরুদেব জয় গৌর গোবিন্দ স্বামী গুরুদেব গৌর গোবিন্দ স্বামী গুরুদেব জয় জগৎগুরু শিলা প্রভুপাদা জগৎগুরু শিলা প্রভুপাদা জয় জয় গুরুদেব 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 জয় জয় গুরুদেব জয় জয় গুরুদেব 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 জয় জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগর এ দাসে করুণা করি ওহে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগর ওহে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগর এ দাসে করুণা করি ওহে বৈষ্ণব
ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগর এ দাসে করুণা করি
দিয়া পদ ছায়া সদ হে আমারে দিয়া পদ
ছায়া সদহে
আর দিয়া পদ ছায়া সদ হে আমারে দিয়া পদ
ছায়া সদহে আমারে
তোমার চরণ ধরি আমি তোমার ওহে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়াল ঠাকুর বেদাতে করুণা করি ওহে
বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগর এ দাসে করুণা করি
আমার ছয় বেগ দমি ছয় দশ ছড়ি ছয় গুণ দেহ দাছে আমার ছয় বেগ দমি ছয় দশ ছড়ি ছয় গুণ আমার ছয় বেগ দমি ছয় দশ ছড়ি ছয় গুণ দেহ দাছে আমার ছয় ছয় শত সঙ্গ দেহ হে আমার ছয় আর ছয় শত সঙ্গ দেহ হে আমার ছয় শত বসেছি সঙ্গে রয়াছে আমি বসেছি আমি বসেছি সঙ্গে রয়াছে বসেছি ওহে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়াল ঠাকুর এ দাসে করুণা করি ওহে একাকি আমার নাহি পাইবা হরি নাম সংকীর্তনে একাকি আমার নাহি পাইবা হরি নাম তুমি কৃপা করি শ্রদ্ধা বিন্দু দিয়া দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম ধানে আর তুমি কৃপা করি শ্রদ্ধা বিন্দু
দিয়া দেহ
কৃষ্ণ নাম ধান তুমি কৃপা করি শ্রদ্ধাবিন দিয়া দেও কৃষ্ণ
নাম দানি
হে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগর হে দাসে করুণা করি হে
বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগর হে দাসে করুণা করি
কৃষ্ণ সে তোমার কৃষ্ণ দিতে পারা তোমার শক্তি আছে কৃষ্ণ সে তোমার বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর তোমার শক্তি আর কৃষ্ণ সে তোমার কৃষ্ণ দিতে পারা তোমার শক্তি আছে কৃষ্ণ
যে তোমার কৃষ্ণ দিতে পারো তোমার শক্তি আছে
আমি তো কাঙ্গাল কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলি ভাই তব পাছে পাছে আর আমি তো
কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলে তাই তবু পাতে পাতে
আর আমি তো কাঙ্গাল কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলি ভাই তব পাছে পাছে আর আমি তো কাঙ্গাল কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলি
তাই তবু পাতে পাতে
ধাই ধাই তব পাছে পাছে ধাই ধাই তব পাছে পাছে ওহে ওহে দয়াল বৈষ্ণবে ঠাকুর আমি ভাই ভাই তব পাছে পাছে ওহে দয়াল বৈষ্ণবে ঠাকুর ভাই
পাতে পাতে
আমি কৃষ্ণ ধন বাবার বাবার আসে ধাই তব পাছে পাছে কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ ধন বাবার আসে ধাই
তব পাতে পাতে
হরে কৃষ্ণ ধন বাবার আসে ধাই তব পাছে পাছে কৃষ্ণ
দানা বাবার আছে নাই তব পাতে পাতে
আমি কৃষ্ণ ধন বাবার আছে ধাই তব পাছে পাছে কৃষ্ণ ধন বাবার Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. So I want to thank everybody very much again for coming. And I'd just like to say a few words of introduction. And thank Sadhana Siddhi Prabhu for his very wonderful bhajan. Sadhana Siddhi Prabhu has been singing for many, many years for Radha Madhava. He's very talented to sing. Dhanyavad. Hare Krishna. Gauragraganya gana gocha goloruharam Gauranga gudachama gopyara kopa briksham Gopala gada ratidam yati singha gora Govinda 𝗏𝗍𝗂𝗿 satatam namami. I offer my humble pranams to my revered spiritual master, Sri Srimad Govinda Maharaj. We compose this prayer, the Gauragraganya Gana Gocha Goloruharam. Amongst the intimate associates of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he's like a brilliant garland around their necks. Gauranga Gana Gocha Goloruharam. Gauranga Gudatama Gopyara Kopa Briksham. He's like a Kopa Briksha tree who's giving very confidential understandings about Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Gopala Gada Ratidam. And he's the giver of love of Gopal, his beloved deity, who's been in their family for over 350 years. Govinda 𝗏𝗍𝗂𝗿 satatam namami. I offer my obeisances again and again to that lion-like sannyasi, Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So on February 9th, 1996, Guru Maharaj left this world here in this place. And somehow, by his kripa, I've been organizing this program every year since then. And it goes up and down. With some years, I remember we had Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, we had Bhakti Srupdamana Maharaj, we had many, many different devotees coming and speaking. When we first started, we began the programs in the room where Guru Maharaj left. And it became so packed, the devotees were in the hallway, and then we started having a pandal, and then we did some in the temple room, and then we've done it here. Over the years, so many, many different devotees have come, and I always think deeply about what we're doing. And we want to glorify our revered spiritual master. We want to hear something about the Vaishnavas, but I want to do something which will please him. And I'm always trying to think, would this make him happy? Would he be pleased with this? He was a very quiet person. When I first heard about our Guru Maharaj, we were speaking something about this yesterday, was around, 1990, 1991 in America. And one Prabhupada disciple friend of mine mentioned, he said, Gaur Govinda Maharaj is coming. And I said, who is that? And he said, you've never heard of him. He said, he's a very controversial person. I said, really? He said, some people say he should be the next Acharya after Prabhupada. And other people say he should be kicked out of ISKCON. I said, I'd like to meet him. And Guru Maharaj then came to Alacha a little after that. But he spent so many years in Bhubaneswar, just like a hidden gem. Very few devotees knew very much about him. So we're very happy we have Bhakti Bhushan Maharaj here. Thank you for coming, Maharaj. Aapka bahut dhanyavad. And Sarvadrik Prabhu and so many senior devotees. Also 𝗏𝗏 Prabhu, that's his Purva Ashram name. Now he's Shroti Maharaj. He's an old friend of our Guru Maharaj. He's also here, and Sahadev Prabhu is here, and many wonderful Vaishnavas. And I think we'll probably get some other devotees coming, and I've invited many devotees. It's always kind of an unusual thing this time of year. Usually the GBC meetings are going on, and sometimes we get many GBC members. This year they're not having the meetings in person, so a lot of those devotees are not here. And some of them are not attending indoor programs, but they'd like to come. So anyway, I won't take so much of your time anymore, but I'll be your MC today, and I'd like to make a few reflections and comments on some of the different talks the devotees give. And the devotees who'll be speaking, I'd like to ask Shroti Maharaj, if you come up and speak first. I'd like to request you also, if anybody has any questions or reflections on what they say, that's nice because we'd like to have some interaction. The Bhagavatam describes parasparanu katanam pavanam bhagavadya samita rate mitas tushya nirvita mita atmana, that we associate with Vaishnavas through paraspara. It's not like a lecture in the university, but there should be some back and forth, some reflections and some thoughts, and then that creates a Vaishnav Sangha, which is something we want to accomplish. That's our purpose in doing this. We want to keep our Guru Maharaj alive, and we want to facilitate and assist him in his function of preaching. He once told me personally, he said, we should work to help uphold the prestige of Srila Prabhupada's mission. And he said the best way to do that is to have nice Vaishnava dealings and nice Krishna Katha. So he wanted very much to help Srila Prabhupada's mission. Once in New York City in 1994, when I was alone with him, he told me something a little striking. He said, there's three things that are very important to me. He said, the first is that I want to preach to the preachers. It causes me so much pain when I see the preachers falling down and going away. And the second thing is I want to show that everything is in Srila Prabhupada's books. Guru Maharaj was very, very nishtha to his Gurudev. He said, I want to show that everything is in Prabhupada's books, and that those people who say that Prabhupada only gave ABC, I want to make them mum. And he did that. And the third thing he said is, I want to show that everything is within ISKCON, and the devotees don't have to go outside for other higher teachings, but everything is here. And he did that with his life and soul. So we'll make maybe a few comments in between speakers and things, but I'd like to ask Shoti Maharaj if you kindly come up, Maharaj, and share a few words with us. And in particular, I have a question for you. You might want to start with that. How did you can sit over here. Yes. Maharaj, I wanted to ask, I never knew how you met Guru Maharaj, how you first met Guru Maharaj. When I first came to Bhubaneswar in 1993, 𝗏𝗵𝗍𝗶 was one of the senior devotees who were there, and a few Prabhupada disciples. 𝗏𝗵𝗍𝗶 was one of them, Shoti Maharaj. And he had a lot of association, a lot of affection from Guru Maharaj. You can say a few things, Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Namayo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Gaur Govinda Swami Niti Namine. Namayo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So first of all, I'd like to offer my unlimited procession pranams in the dust of the lotus feet of my spiritual masters, Srila Guru Maharaj Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Bhaktivedanta, Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj, also Bhaktivedanta. We are all in the same family. So Prabhuji asked me how I came in touch with Gaur Govinda Maharaj. Actually, it was like a struggle, because Gaur Govinda Maharaj came to France and he preached his own, ways of seeing things as it is described in the scriptures. So he was a lover of scriptures, because scriptures are none different than Krishna. So he loved Krishna, he loved the scriptures, so he could not make any compromise with the scriptures. So he says things which are very, very relevant, and some things of what he said was not accepted so much. But anyway, we met him for the first time in France, New Mayapur Dam. You know New Mayapur? our community there. And it was like very, very amazing meeting. We discovered something which like we thought was falling down from the sky. It was so nice. His kata was very, very deep and full of realizations and full of siddhanta. So in this way, he sprinkled. Sprinkle is mercy. Sprinkle. Yeah, I am French. Sorry, my English is complete, not 100%. 90 may see something. So he sprinkled his mercy on everyone's head there, everyone's heart also, just to water our seed of love and devotion for Krishna, which was put there by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So he came as a savior of the devotees after Srila Prabhupada left. And we saw him just like this, you know. So I knew Srila 𝗏𝗏 Maharaj was in Bhubaneswar, and at the same time there was these lessons that you take every year in Vrindavan, you know, this, how you call it, programs, you learn so many things there. 𝗏𝗍, yes. And so I was wondering, I was asking my authorities, where should I go? Should I go 𝗏𝗏 Maharaj, or should I go to the programs for learning some things there, some philosophy? He said, you go to philosophy's place and learn something. I said, okay, that's your order. Then I took taxi, I went to airport, and as I was about to check my luggage, I saw that I was missing my passport. So I opened my suitcases all over the place and looked everywhere. I couldn't find my passport. Then I thought, well, let's go back to the temple. Then I looked in my apartment, couldn't see anything. Then I thought, the only place where my passport can be is in the car, and it fell down from my bag. So I went in the car, and I found my passport there. So I said to my authority, now, next week is my next flight. This VIC program will be already like very much advanced. No, I will miss the whole beginning. So let me go to Bhubaneswar. And he said, okay, you have to go to Bhubaneswar. Then in this way, Krishna's mercy, he hid my passport, and then he sent me to Bhubaneswar. So this is the mercy of Guru Maharaj, because he came to Paris, and I was busy trying to organize something for his prachar, his speaking, his Harikatha, Krishna Katha, and I had no time to actually meet him personally and beg for his mercy. So I did this at the last moment, just before he left, and he turned to me with his hand like this, and he did like this, you get my mercy. And then next thing I saw, I was in Bhubaneswar. So after 1 year, I came back every year. That was like our religion, it was to come to Bhubaneswar and get mercy and association of Guru Maharaj. Then 1 year, in 92, 93, my father died. And the next day, I got initiated by Guru Maharaj.
Sure.
Next day. So I didn't lose any father. I gained one, a real one, an eternal father. So I was so happy. I didn't know, then I realized later that was what happened actually. So when I was in Bhubaneswar, all devotees, they were so excited because what Govinda Maharaj actually, he manifest excitement, because what he was speaking about is Shiksha Guru Tattva, or Tattva Siddhanta was not new because it was in Srila Prabhupada's books, but the way that he was talking about it was like a new experience, that like we never heard these things before, you know? You can read books, but maybe you're not clinched in some speciality. But when you have the special Vaishnavas talking to these specialities, then it makes sense and it gets the thing all together, cemented. Then we had a knowledge of what was Krishna consciousness really coming from his lotus lips. So that was like the grace which was coming from the sky, and we were not expecting anything like this. But then we discovered that Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj was this type of person. He was this type of person, full of mercy and full of, so much compassion, and especially his humility. Humility that he didn't want to be like glorified. Even on that special day, yesterday, today, these Vaishnavas don't want to be glorified. They just want to glorify their Rupanuga Guru Varga, the Guru's predecessor. How you say predecessors? No, it's not a French name. No. It's predecessors. They want to glorify Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. They don't want to hear their own glories. But if we voluntarily speak their glories, then they will be so happy. Because not for themselves, but for us, it will be our purification. And they will bless us to listen from him, from us, what we think about him. And he will empower our words, our ideas, our feelings, our perceptions with his grace, with his mercy, that we can speak about him in a way that is very, very clear and very, very deep and very loving and affectionate. So Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj was the most affectionate, loving Gurudev, or like Srila Prabhupada. He was very sweet, and internally he was so deep that he brought us in a place that we never knew before. And we have to, root. You help me, you are the English. You have to take out from the earth.
To dig deep.
Dig all the things that he gave, and try to, open this treasure chest, Everything is in the treasure chest, but who has the key? Who has the key? He has the key. And he had the key, and he opened the treasure chest, and he delivered the whole, facilities for us to enter into the deep meanings of the scriptures. So he made never any compromise. If you love Krishna, then the scriptures who describe Krishna are non-different. The only difference that the scriptures are passive and the Vaishnava is active. He makes the words of the books active or living. So we worship the words of the Guru, of Gurudev, of Guru Maharaj, because they are non-different than Krishna himself. So we love these words because they enter into the ears, goes into the heart, stay there for some times, and we meditate upon them. And then when we reproduce those words, then lust, which is there permanently lingering into the deepest core in our heart, will be removed definitely. And what will take place in our heart will be the mood which is in the heart of our Gurudev that we heard from him from the very beginning under his guidance. So there's so many stories. I don't want to go into stories because then nobody will speak. I want to hear everybody speak.
At least one story.
Which one?
Your favorite story.
I don't know. Huh?
Something you're inspired by.
Somebody is funny?
Something that inspires you.
Funny. So there was one devotee, English devotee. He was good looking. And he found in a plane going somewhere across the world, a lady, like a stewardess. You know the story? Who knows the story? Okay. So he married her. And then wanted to meet her again in Bhubaneswar. He told her, you go there, you wait for me. I will be back in 2 days after you. So she came to Bhubaneswar, but she was not dressed really like a devotee. She was dressed like very, very advanced model, advancement of civilization. This organization of civilization is very advanced, And our Vaishnava said, oh, they are going to hell in a very organized way. So in this way, yeah. So, so she came and brahmacharis were like, what's happening in our brahmachari ashram? And she must have been beautiful because I don't know, I haven't seen her, but they told Govinda Maharaj, please, can you do something and see who she is actually? And he went and came out and talked to her. And he said, why have you come? And she said, I am married with one devotee. His name was Anantadas. I have to say because something is coming with that word, that name afterwards. So he told her, you better not stay here. Better you go somewhere else, And the thing is, you have to hear, his heart is full of mercy. He wants to save everybody, To save everyone who comes to him is an act of compassion and mercy, It's like the highest charity that he can do. So he told her, you go somewhere else. Actually, he must have said, don't come back, And I don't know exactly, I wasn't there, but she never came back. And Ananta Prabhu Das came afterwards. And then he was received with the greatest reception. Govinda Maharaj told him, okay, very good. You haven't told anybody about this? Oh, I know somebody who knows it. He also is in Maya like you. He didn't tell anything to me to save you. So I found out what to do to save you. And this way, now you are coming here. So I am not allowed to go out only for Harinam Sankirtan, and you will take rest in the reception room only for 1 week without mosquito net.
That's how he ended
That's
up
the
there.
difficulty.
I always wondered how he ended up there. Now I know how he ended up in the reception room.
Yeah. Next to the switch off, but there's no entrance between the two, you have to go out and everything. So then Govinda Maharaj was giving class, and his mercy is that he was always, expose the Maya. So he said, this fellow, Ananta Mayadas, Unlimited Mayadas, is here now today. Ananta Mayadas. Not Das, but Ananta Maya Das. He was telling, You have to be Das, but not of Maya. And not unlimitedly Ananta, So he told him, every day, Ananta Maya Das, this fellow is no shame. He was in Maya. Nobody, his friend knows also that he's in Maya. And he never said anything to save him. They're too into Maya too much, all of them. And he said a story to illustrate that Maya, that situation. The story was that there was a person, he met another person in the street, in any place, and they start speaking and made friends, slowly coming together and talking. And at the end of the day, one of them said, okay, we can talk tomorrow again. It was nice to meet you. So the friend said, he said, oh, you can go and take rest, and I will go and take rest. Then the first one said, but I don't have a place to stay, and I don't know where to sleep. Oh, only? Nothing. Okay, you can come to my house. I have a big bed. You can sleep in one side, I sleep on the other side, no problem. You come. Then he said, oh, thank you very much. I agree. And he came. He said, but there is another problem I have. Okay, really? What is your other problem? My other problem is that during the night, unfortunately, I always pass urine in the bed. So the person said, no problem. Because I also pass urine in the bed. So you sleep on the left side, you pass urine on the left side. I sleep on the right side, I pass urine on the right side, no problem. We can sleep in the same bed. So in this way, Govinda Maharaj said, you see these two, they knew each other, but nobody helped anyone to save him, you know. One is passing urine, the other one also. The one is Maya, and the other one is also Maya. In this way, he illustrates that story and helps his Ananta Das, which is now not in Maya. He is a sannyasi, and he lives in nearby, near Gour. Yes. Tapasi Maharaj.
He may come today. He may come today.
He may come today.
I'm hoping.
What time?
He's very busy. He
He's
told me
very
he can't
busy,
come,
okay.
but he said he would try.
So this is a story. There's millions of stories, you know. Govinda Maharaj knew how to illustrate this katha. You know, he was sometimes in any occasion, like Advaita Acharya's advent, he would say, my name, Advaita, means that there is no duality. And Acharya means that by my cries, I will make the Lord descend and appear. He said, otherwise, what is the meaning of my name, Acharya, if I cannot make the Lord appear and come down in this world and save the living entities? So in this way, he was looking at us like this, and he was telling, you also, you have to promise that in this life, you will make the Lord appear in your heart. You have to promise that you will make the Lord appear in your heart. And he will stress on that point. And we were shaking. And not like, you know, little small time, but really shaking. And the walls were shaking. And everybody was shaking. And then we went into our rooms, you know, to get a little relief. But no, the words were there. And in the room, what we do in the room after the class, we would go, oh Lord, please come in my heart. This is my Gurudev's instructions. You cannot avoid to come in my heart in this lifetime. But if you wait, then it will be difficult for me to follow this instruction. So you have to come. And every class he was giving, there was every time a way of, you know, going deeper and deeper and deeper. So in this way, Govinda Maharaj, he blessed all his disciples, his entourage. And he said, I am crying for the Lord, and I open a crying school here. Everybody should cry. Those who want to have Krishna, they have to cry. Nobody has ever had Krishna without crying. So you have to cry. And today he's crying for us himself to ask us, please let me come into your heart. I need to come into your heart because I want that you should become like me. I am a devotee that want everybody to be like a pure Vaishnav to serve the Lord. And the way I have served the Lord is the way that I now want that you should serve him exactly like that. So we could see that the way he was speaking also was not an ordinary way. His words was ecstatic emotions. It's called Anubhav, you know. There's many, on Bhava Bhakti, there's many principles. The Vibhav, Anubhav, Sadvibhav, Vyabhicharibhav, Sancharibhav. And his expressions of his arts in the form of transcendental sound vibration were Anubhav. So he was on the level of a Bhava Bhakti, Bhavuk Bhakti, Premi Bhakti, and he wants us to come to the same level as he is now and forever. So this is his mercy today. There's so many things I forgot to say so many things, but I know that everybody has many things to say. So I will end up today in this way, that praying to my Lord and Master, Guru Maharaj, Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj, to come into my heart somehow or other and stay and remain there forever and take me to the transcendental abode of Golok Vrindavan, according to Nikunjayu no Ratikerisidaya, how you are serving the lords of your life, conjugal love. And I want to follow and be like a very, very insignificant piece of dust at your lotus feet and assist somehow or other with my limited intelligence to serve in the way that you are serving Radha and Krishna, your dearmost conjugal deity worship, object of worship. So, Gour Govinda Maharaj ki, Gour Govinda Maharaj ki, Guru Maharaj ki, Gour Premanandi. Sorry for being so long.
Thank you very much, Shoti Maharaj. I really appreciate that. I knew part of the story about the stewardess, but I didn't know the entire thing. So I'd like to ask Bhakti Bhushan Maharaj, if he'd say something now. Maharaj, Oriyat Buji? Huh? You're from Utkal. Okay. Maharaj is also from Orissa. It's the first time we get to meet him. Thank you very much for coming, Maharaj. We're very blessed. But we'd like to ask for Maharaj to say a few words.
Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikai Tadalai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namo Kadachita Kalandi Tata Vipina Sangita Taralam Muda Bhirinari Vadana Kamala Swada Madhupa Rama Sambhu Brahma Marapati Ganesarchita Pada Jagannatha Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatumi Jagannatha Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatumi Anarapita Charim Chirat Karunaya Vatinna Kalo Samarapaitu Mato Jalarasam Sobhakti Sriya Hari Purata Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipita Sada Hridaya Kandare Spuratuvaha Sachinandana He Radhe Brajadevi Ke Chalarite He Nanda Sunakuta Sri Govardhana Kalapa Pada Patale Kalandivani Kutugo Santa Viti Sarvata Brajapuri Khedari Mahavyalo Bande Rupa Sanatana Ragajugo Sri Jiva Gopalako Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Guru Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Sri Bhakti Vedanta Guru Govinda Swami Maharaj ki Guru Govinda Maharaj all time one song all time remember Govinda 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 Pados Kalochi Makaranda. Understand? This song is all time remember.
Makaranda Panakori Anande Bolo Hari Hari
Govinda 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 পদগড়ছি মকরন্দ সে মকরন্দ পান করি হেলে তরিলে গোপনারী সে গোপনারীଙ୍କ পୟରେ চিত মর নিরন্তরে চিত নিরন্তরে রহো হা কৃষ্ণ বলি জীব যাও হা কৃষ্ণ বলি যাও জীব মতে উদ্ধার রাধা দব হা কৃষ্ণ বলি যাও জীব মতে উদ্ধার রাধা মাধব. This song is a very important song. All time remember. But I know understand English. Our language is Odisha, Utkal, Jagannath. Now, Sarvadika Prabhu, slight sports energy. I speak small English, but no understand English. Only Odia. All is devotee, but spiritual word is receive. Our material word no remember a spiritual word. But Lord Krishna and Guru and Vaishnava and Gita and Bhagavat mercies receive. Hari Guru, Vaishnava, another Bhagavata Gita. This is no material. This is full power of energy, souls. One slok, Brahma যত প্রাপ্য নিবর্তন্তে বাচসা মনসা সহ অহং চানিমি দেবা তস্মৈ ভগবতে নমঃ. No surrender, no calm spiritual word, spiritual all is. But the material word is Brahma. No voice, no eye, no hearing. Only last time surrender. Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Sachidananda Vigraha. Anadiradi Govinda. Another sloka, remember? Sarvopadi Vinirmukta. तत्परत्वन निर्मलम ऋषिकेण ऋषिकेशम सेवनम भक्तिर उच्यते. Higher bhakti is all energy surrender Krishna and remember Krishna is bhakti. This is matru bhakti, mother bhakti, father bhakti, family bhakti, country bhakti, Deva Bhakti, brother Bhakti, no Bhakti. This is enjoy. No souls enjoy, bodies enjoy. This is come, no happy. First time is happy. After cry. This bhakti is last time cry. But the soul's bhakti is sabai punsa, paradharma, adakshaje, ahaituki, apratyata, jay atma suprasiddhati. Soul is happy, this is. Sabai punsa, paradharma, higher dharma is this. Sabai punsa paradharma jata bhaktir adhakshaje. No akshaja, no eye, no voice, no hair, no body, no family, no country, no village, no another demigod. Only one Krishna is a super Lord. This is bhakti. This is no bhakti. Divide. Material bhakti and spiritual bhakti. Spiritual bhakti is happy, soul's happy. But material is bhakti is cry. Guru Govinda Maharaj, all time, this Srimad Bhagavatam essence, this is Govinda, 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 Padu, 𝗏𝗏 Makaranda. Adhakshaja Vastu is Krishna. No surrender, Vaishnava. Remember is Prahlada Maharaj. Naisamatistava durukramangri susatana thapagama dadatha maya sampadara abhisekam niskincananam na brunita javat. Prahlada Maharaj advice all demigods sons. No Vaishnava surrender. No, or remember Krishna. Another sloka, remember Acharya Mam Bijaneta Nava Manyata Kaichit. Na Martya Buddhya Suyet Sarvadeva Maya Guru. Guru is all gods. But our all energies surrender is calm energy. Jasyasti bhaktir bhagavata kinchana sarve gunai samasate sura harava bhakta sukuto mahat guna manarathana sati dhavata bahi. Bahir means my wife, my husband, my son, my daughter, my family, my country, my village, all is mine. But no Krishna mine. Out Krishna, my wife out. Out of Krishna, my husband is out. But how your husband? How your daughter? How your wife? How your father? How your mother? How your village? How your countries? All is Krishna. Sachidananda Rupaya. All you remember. Sachidananda Rupaya Vishwotpatyadi-hetave. This all world is Krishna. Srishti, make and maintain and finish. Threefold. All world is make Krishna. All bodies make Krishna. But the Krishna out, this is what is no function. Sat Chit Anandamaya Krishna. Satya, Ananda, Chinmaya. No Krishna surrender, our काम आधि भौतिक, आधि दैविक, आध्यात्मिक, त्रिताप काम. All time internal cry. Out is very happy. Outside also happy, but internal no happy, cry. One Hindi, koi mana dukhi, mind is our all time no happy. Mind. Koi tana dukhi. Body is come pain, joint pain, eye pain, head pain, leg pain, all body is pain, cold, hot, all time. Adi doiviko, adi bhautiko, adhyatmiko, tritap. Kai tana dukhi, one time body is very tight. One time mind is koi tana dukhi, koi mano dukhi. Koi no money is koi tana dukhi, koi mano dukhi. Kai dhana bina rahata udas. All is dukhi. No happy. Outside is happy. Pant. Changing body, painting, but mirror is internal is no money, no body is very pain. My mother, my father, all is disturbance. This is a material world. Dukkhalayam saswatam. This material world is Dukkha house. Dukkhalaya. No Sukhalaya. Sukhalaya is Golok, Vrindavan. Koi tana dukhi, koi mana dukhi, koi dhana bina rahata udas, thode thode sab dukhi. All jeeves is dukhi. Sukhi is surrender. Sadhus, Guru, and Bhagavans also give I Krishna Das. This ego is very happy. Our ego is Krishna Das. I Krishna Das. Now, no mam duskutino, muraha, prapadante, naradhama, Maya apurta jnana. Maya is our spiritual energy. Maya means Kirtana. Alternate? Kirtana. Nartaki means Maya. Nartaki means no Hari Kirtan or mind is Maya come. My money, my house, my father, my, all my Maya. Nartaki, Kirtana. Jagadguru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada last time Kirtaniya sada Hari. Means all time remember Harinam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. No Kirtan, come Nartaki. Maharaj, Maya discuss. This is Maya. दैवीहेसा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्वया मामे भजे प्रपजन्ते मामेतं तरन्ति. No Maya out, but Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is our 𝗚𝗏 Maya. नासिवार लागि हरे नाम महामंत्र लो तुमी मागी. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. महाप्रभु's advice. नाम कारी बोधा निज सर्वशक्ति तत्रार्पित नियमित स्मरणे न कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् मापि 𝗏𝗏 नानुरागो. No our mind attach all time another मनोरथना सती धावत बही. No attach Lord Krishna, Gurudev and Shastra and Sadhus. Come Maya, take. नाम कारी बोधा निज सर्वशक्ति तत्रार्पित नियमित स्मरणे न कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् मापि 𝗏𝗏 नानुरागो. No our mind attach. Harinam is very critical, but easy. Abhyas jogo jukteno cetasa nanyagaamina paramam purusham divyam jati parthanu chintana. Gita. Remember 8:8. This is slok all is you practice. अभ्यास जोग जुक्तेन चेतस नान्यगामिना परम पुरुषम दिव्यम जाति पार्थानुचिंतयन. One slok is no slok mantra. You practice, come energy. जस्यास्ति भक्ति भगवत किंचना सर्वै गुणे समासते सुरः हराव भक्त सुकुतो महत गुण मनरथ नासति धावत बही. No you guru sadhu shastra bhagavan attachment. Come Maya, take out. All is material world is my out. One Srimad Bhagavatam, one mantra is कलेरे दोष निधि राजनस्ति ह्यक महान गुणो कीर्तना देव कृष्णस्य मुक्त संग परम विजय. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे. All is Harinam. All Bhagavat, Gita and also Shastra. No another Kali Yuga Dharma is Harinam. Gita last Sarva Dharmana. This is our Dharma. Family Dharma. Brother Dharma. Mother Dharma. Father Dharma. Daughter Dharma. Master's Dharma. Servant is dharma, all is dharma. All is dharma, but no soul dharma. Spiritual dharma, no. This is material dharma. Is bandhan. Sarva dharmana paritejya. Only one. Second, saranam raja. Surrender is higher dharma. Namekam saranam raja. Aham tva sarva papebhyo mukhyaisyami ma sucaha. Sarva dharma, you out is come papa. Understand? Papa. Mothers, fathers, families, no attachment. Come surrender sadhu and guru and Bhagavan chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But Krishna speak is Aham tam sarva papebhyo mukhyaisyami ma sucaha. Next, manmana bhava. Manmana bhava. Your mind is, my mother, no. My father, no. My mind, no. No. Manmana bhava. All time our mind is fathers, mothers, buddies, families, countries come. No. Only is manmana bhava. Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj. Kaya mana vakya. Kaya na manasa vacha jat kutam tat Sri Krishna arpitam swaha. Bodies, mind and voice always give sadhu, guru, Bhagavan. Higher Vaishnava. Dullabha manasa deha denam kshanabhangura. Tatrapi dullabam manne Vaikuntha priya darsanam. Understand? You come energy, gods. Bhukti, mukti, siddhi. Come. No devotion. Come. Bhukti, mukti, siddhi. Bhukti, mukti, siddhi kami. Asanta, no santo. No peace. No heart peace. Body is peace. Bhukti, mukti, siddhi kami. Sakali asanto. Krishna bhakta. Nishkam 𝗬𝗏 𝗏. No disturbance. Body, mind and no disturbance. Our all time Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Shastra remember and Kali Yuga Dharma. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Last Bhagavata is this. Nama Sankirtana Jasya Sarva Papa Pranasanam Pranama Dukkha Samanastam Namami Harim Paramam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gour Premanande, Hare Hare. Jai Sri Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj ki, Samasta Bhakta Vrunda ki, Nitai Gour Premanande, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. This is Bhakti Bhushan Vaishnav Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for coming. Some years ago, we printed some translation from 𝗏 of the Tirubhav festival that Raghunandan Thakur put on for Narahari Chakravarti Thakur. And it reminds me something of Maharaj's Katha. Because what did they do? They didn't just tell stories. We like to hear stories about that person, but they spoke Krishna Katha. And our Guru Maharaj liked that very much. That's a dignified way to go. So just want to give a mala to Shoti Maharaj also. But he's telling me I should give it to you. Thank you very much. So we'd like to ask 𝗦𝗏𝗃 Prabhu to speak. I don't know if all of you know 𝗦𝗏𝗃. If you don't, 50% of your life is useless, wasted. 𝗦𝗏𝗃 Prabhu is a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He's an old friend of mine. He's my Guru Jana, but he was a vice president in Denver. And I've known him for, I don't know, 35, 40 years or something, a long time. And he's a very strong preacher. He's always active in preaching and pushing on Prabhupada's mission. And he also had some affection and love for our Guru Maharaj. He had some wonderful association. Guru Maharaj came and stayed in his house a couple times, I think.
We did programs.
Yeah.
We're so fortunate that he stayed with.
So anyway, thank you very much for coming. I really,
happiness.
really appreciate it. You can say a few words.
Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Gaur Govinda Swami Diti Namani Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nivishesha Shanyavadi Paschatsadesha Tarani He Guru Jnanada Dina Bandho Swanandada Kurunayaka Sindho Vindavana Sini Hitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Prashad Vande Nanta Adbhutashvayam Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhum Nichopi Yat Prasadat Sadbhakti Shastra Pravartakam Nityananda Maham Nomi Sarvananda Karam Param Harinama Padam Devam Avaduta Shiromanim Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Adjust my chair so I can see all of you. So I'm not preaching to the wall, so I can see Shoti Maharaj's smiling face. So Srila Prabhupada taught us that Bhagavat approaches us in two ways, book Bhagavat and person Bhagavat. Book Bhagavat means idam Bhagavatam nama Purana Brahma Samitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Vishi. Book Bhagavat means incarnation of the Lord in paper and ink. Idam Bhagavatam nam Purana Brahma Samhita means that this book, Bhagavat, is the Lord himself. You can hold it in your hands. It's like holding the deity of Radha Krishna in your hands when you pick up Srimad Bhagavatam. None different. But to understand book Bhagavat, we need person Bhagavat. His Holiness Shoti Maharaj made a very nice point about this point, that book Bhagavat means passive mercy of the Lord. Active mercy means person Bhagavat. So book Bhagavat says, Tulayam ilavananti naswargam na punarbhavam Bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kimutashisha. It said, what is the value of the blessing of not being born again? Liberation. What is the value of going to heaven, Swarga? These are nothing compared to Bhagavat Sangi Sangasya, for the having a moment's association with the pure devotee of the Lord. Even a moment. Swabhamapyasya what's that? Oh, I'm thinking something else. but old age has overtaken me. This will happen to you too, mark my words. Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi. This lava matra means 1/11 of a second. 1/11 of a second association with pure devotee of the Lord can't be compared to liberation, going to heaven. And any other benediction is simply for those that are meant to die. Ashish means some benediction, some blessing, worldly benediction. Nothing you can achieve in this world compares to a moment's association with a pure devotee. So this devotee, Srimad Gaur Govinda Maharaj, was a Siddha Purush, Mahabhagavat, pure devotee, though Shuddha Bhakta of the first order. And he revealed to the world, to our society, our ISKCON world, the most esoteric understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Radha Govinda, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this, what we understood as neophyte devotees, as a procession, Jagannath Rath Yatra. It's a big kirtan, we have big kirtan, we dance, we pull Jagannath, it's all blissful, have nice peace prasadam, Haribol, Jai Jagannath. But this festival constitutes the highest understanding, the essence, the acme of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta. And it was revealed to our whole system, revealed to the world by His divine grace, Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So we should mark that and take advantage of his association that is still available. He who reasons ill, who tells that Vaishnavas die when they're living still and sound. He's living in his books. And personally, I didn't understand Maharaj.
Can they sit here for speaking?
He came to my home and he was preaching in Denver. And it seemed to me that this person is maybe eccentric. There was one person, sometimes it's sort of like this Anantamaya Das. So there was a different Maya Das that was at my home for Maharaja's program. Very eccentric person. He took care of dogs. That was his means of maintenance. He was he had all these dogs. A dog sitter, not babysitter, dog sitter. So his name was Garth. So Maharaj should pick on him a little bit. They say, Bhakta Garth, head is full of cow stool, huh? Isn't it? Huh? Bhakta Garth? Yes, Maharaj. Bhakta Garth got the mercy. So I was thinking this person maybe is a little eccentric. You know, he was a school teacher and he had this in his secular life. Maybe he had this mood of preaching. I didn't understand. I was so unfortunate. It wasn't until I read his book, When Good Fortune Arises, and when I started listening to 250 recorded lectures, when I could understand what a fool I was to miss the association, to miss the opportunity to throw myself at his feet and beg mercy from him. So we should be careful to judge a Vaishnava by external consideration. Judge a Vaishnava by what comes from his mouth. So this Vaishnava came to our temple, our ISKCON temple in Denver, Colorado, in an advanced age when he was practically crippled. This image of him doing dandavat to Radha Govinda and having to be helped up off the floor by his disciples is burned into my consciousness. So difficult for him to travel, but traveling all over the world, to America, to Australia, to Europe, to India, to deliver the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that we are not carpenters, we're not stonemasons. What are we? We're simply carriers of the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this devotee, who we're honoring today, topmost carrier of the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And anyone who's fortunate to come in contact with him by reading his book, or whoever, to hear from him personally, to associate with him, to serve him, inestimable benefit. Even for a moment, lava matra, because sadhu sangha is the way by which we can understand The passive mercy we find in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Upanishads. They're just books. They're words on paper until you hear from a Vaishnava, especially a Vaishnava of the character of Sri Srimad Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So there are many other devotees here that I'm sure would like to say something. So I don't want to go on and on. Thank you all for being here. It's a great opportunity to be with you as you worship him, as you remember him and serve him. So thank you all very much for being here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, 𝗏𝗏 Prabhu. I really appreciate it. I'd like to ask Sahadev Prabhu, maybe you could come up here.
Also, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 Prabhu, please come sit. Our godbrother 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is sitting in back very humbly.
Sahadev and Radha Prabhu also.
𝗏𝗏𝗏 Prabhu is a very senior devotee. More than me. Spent his life distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Top book distributor in America for several years in a row. Very, very dear to Srila Prabhupada. Radha Prabhu is also here. Please come.
You can speak in a few minutes. So I was just appreciating what you were speaking about, 𝗏𝗏 Prabhu, the purpose of the festival. Sometimes devotees, they say, how do we have a festival for a disappearance day? Huh? And there's a lot to be said about that. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Sarta Darshani, he defines the word viraha. Viraha means separation. He gives a very interesting definition of it. He says it's a compound word, vir and raha. And V means Vishesha Roop, means a special form, and Raha means Rahasya Milan, a special form of confidential meeting. So that's the nature of Viraha. Externally, there's separation, but internally, there's union. And it looks like one thing on the outside, but there's another thing on the inside. Once Jagadatma Prabhu, Prabhupada's disciple, who was also in Bhubaneswar, his old friend of Shoti Maharaj, I think, and some others, Jagadatma, asked Guru Maharaj, he said, Guru Maharaj, you speak so much about separation and how we should cry for Krishna, but that's just theoretical. How can we do that? And Guru Maharaj replied to him, he said, after I leave this world, then you'll be able to cry. So it's a natural function. We have relationships with persons. We develop love for them.
He was expert in astrology, face reading, body reading. When he saw Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he said he has all the symptoms and signs of a Mahabhagavat. Nimai Pandit was very proud telling me that. And so Gaur Govinda Maharaj, his life was exemplary. He was born in a Vaishnava family. Prabhupada, in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asks, the question, what happens to the unsuccessful yogi? So, and so Krishna says he would take birth in a wealthy family or a highly advanced spiritual family. Yeah. So then in the purport, Prabhupada says, in India, there is always pure Vaishnava. And I mean, I read that a long, long time ago. So I within myself, I was always thinking, there is always a pure Vaishnava in India. There is never a time when there is no Vaishnava anywhere. So when I met Gaur Govinda Maharaj, I said, yes, Prabhupada is correct. Okay, I better stop because time is getting short. I said, Gaur Govinda Maharaj ki jai, Gaur Brahmanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you very much, Sahadev Prabhu. I really appreciate it. 𝗏𝗏 Prabhu, would you like to? Okay. We're also very blessed to have Radha Prabhu with us here today. Radha Prabhu also had a good amount of association with Guru Maharaj and also with Srila Prabhupada. And he's an author of a wonderful book about Prabhupada in South Africa. And if you haven't read it, then at least 50% of your life is wasted. You should get a copy of that. Thank you very much for coming, Radha Prabhu. Little shout out.
Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda. Namaste Saraswati Devi Purvani Chanini Vishesha Sanyari Paskavata Om Vikyana Tamaranja Sadhananjana Svakaya Chaksamalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So I'll just say a few words. Obviously there are other speakers that have said various things, and Prabhu Madhavanand, you can correct me if I quote something that historically needs a little elaboration. I'd request you to intervene and give a little interjection there. So the appearance and disappearance of a self-realized soul like Govinda Maharaj is very special, as we've been hearing some ecstatic stories and the symptoms of one who is experiencing these symptoms, which are outlined in the Nectar of Devotion. I haven't experienced anything of that caliber in my life, but I've experienced the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And I know that Govinda Maharaj, he stayed with Srila Prabhupada in Bhubaneswar in the same room.
Yes.
And so it wasn't just like an overnight thing, right?
Prabhupada was there for 17 days in Bhubaneswar in 1977. He opened the temple there, he inaugurated the temple, or I should say, laid the foundation stone on Nityananda Trayodasi. It's the last temple project Prabhupada did.
So he was actually staying in the same room. Same room.
There was a mud hut that the Guru Maharaj built for Srila Prabhupada there. And when Prabhupada came, there's two sides to it, like two rooms, and Prabhupada was staying in one room, and Guru Maharaj as well as and Harisari Prabhu, and I think Satsvarup Maharaj was staying in the other room.
So this is the recognition of a pure devotee. He recognizes another pure devotee. And from that point of view, it sometimes creates a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of friction within the Western mind. In the Western mind, when we see somebody else, and Srila Prabhupada talks about it, when you see somebody else advanced and with qualities which supersede your qualities, sometimes Westerners become jealous. And also Indians. I don't think anybody is immune to feeling jealousy. But it's a horrible quality. It's a demoniac quality. And we have to weed it out because it's not Vaishnav. And we know the history. I don't need to elaborate or go into the details. But, I mean, he came in such a humble way. There was that story, probably you know better than me, or maybe somebody's spoken about it, while he was on the train, an Indian train, where he was just sitting in the hallway next to
You actually saw him at that time? Were you there?
No, but I like the story, if you can tell the story. He was near the toilet.
Yeah, there's one devotee who was going to Kumbh Mela, and they had their ISKCON had gotten, I don't know, a whole bogie or maybe a whole train for the devotees going to Kumbh Mela. 1977, just before Prabhupada came to Bhubaneswar. And the devotees were all comfortable in having their ISKCON party kind of thing like we do a lot of times. And somebody noticed there's some elderly gentleman, some elderly sannyasi, sadhu, sitting by himself on top of a suitcase just near the door of the train in a very uncomfortable situation. And that was Guru Maharaj. That was his nature. Can I tell a little story?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When the property was donated in Bhubaneswar by Chubby Kanungo, one wealthy lady, there on National Highway number 5, they were building the highway. And there was one devotee who later became a disciple of Guru Maharaj, and he was riding around on the back of his bicycle. Shrutidhar was his name at that time. He later became Sachinandan Prabhu. Passed away a few years ago, one of our godbrothers. And there was no place for Guru Maharaj to stay. Prabhupada told him, you go stay on the property, but there's no place to stay. And there was cobras. There were tigers in the area. There were elephants. To this day, there's an elephant reserve just about a 20-minute walk north of the Bhubaneswar temple. At that time, there was nothing there. And he had no place to stay. So he asked the road workers if he could stay with them in their tent. Now, I don't know how many of you are very familiar with Indian road workers, but they're not the most sattvic people in the world. They drink alcohol, they're not vegetarian, they smoke, they say bad words, they're very rough kind of people. And when Shrutidhar, this devotee who was riding Guru Maharaj on the bicycle, saw that, he was shocked. And he said, Maharaj, how can you stay with these road workers in the tent? And Guru Maharaj's reply to him really touched my heart. He said that, no, this is very good. This is what my spiritual master sent for me. This is what Srila Prabhupada gave me. So when I think of this story in the train, that was his mood. It was just very, very simple and very, very renounced.
So these are the qualities that delete pratishta. They delete it from our consciousness. So we know that when we want those things, when we run after recognition, we run after profit, distinction, adoration, they're all a stranglehold on our neck. They will finish us off. So the story of Gaur Govinda Maharaj is absolutely ecstatic. And I remember the first time I saw him, in fact, it was in 1975, I believe, at the opening of the Krishna Balaram Mandir.
Uh-huh.
And
you were there for that.
I was there, and Srila Prabhupada was there for the opening. Of course, we were all there, and the Prabhupada disciples. And this unassuming sannyasi, Vaishnav, offered Srila Prabhupada a poem. As I recall, I can see him standing there at the microphone. And it was quite a long one. And he had composed this poem with such humility and poetic verses that everybody was taken back. And Srila Prabhupada was taken right back. He didn't expect it. And these type of things are necessary for us to please the spiritual master. Not how much money we can give him. That's not what he asked for, of course. Finances there has to go on, but Krishna will send it. Just like Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he wanted to finance less than 100 maths in India. But there's a quote, right? He said, I will go to Vaikuntha and I will get a bricks of gold, right?
Just one brick.
I will get some bricks of bullion, gold bricks, and they will finance our preaching that way. So he had faith. He was also a Nitya Siddha, eternally liberated person. So we're very fortunate to have Gaur Govinda Maharaj, and we're fortunate to have Madhavananda, who can explicitly share the pastimes as a very dedicated disciple and follower. And he has a lot of respect for those pastimes. And we're grateful to him for being here today and many days afterwards, and for time in the future, but long after I've died, he'll still be here to glorify Gaur Govinda Maharaj. But I remember he also came to Bhaktivedanta Manu you were explaining he was on a European tour, Australian tour. So he came to the UK and he called me to his room. And he has many wonderful disciples there. Akinchana.
Krishnananda, Janeshwara.
Sorry?
Janeshwara.
Okay. Akinchana and Krishnananda.
Navadvip Chandra.
Who else?
Navadvip Chandra.
Right. So he has disciples wherever he went. He was making classy disciples. He wasn't going after, sometimes people think that spiritual masters and the Hare Krishna movement make converts. You know, like Muslims, like Christians, they make converts, rubber stamp. We're not into rubber stamping because we know that you can bribe anybody with a food parcel. You can give them money, little token of money. Of course, it's nice to help poor people sometimes, or blankets, you know, social welfare, right? So we know what happened in Africa with the Christians. They came and bribed the Africans to become Christians, or the Muslims, or the British. What did the British do in India? They said, if you are Muslim, you don't pay the tax. But if you're not Muslim, you have to pay the tax. So it was a divide and rule policy. So many people became Muslims to avoid paying the tax, but actually they're Hindus. So this is rubber stamping. This is conversion through politics. We don't do that. We want Paka Vaishnavas. We want good quality. What did Prabhupada say? If we make one first-class pure devotee or one intelligent devotee, they're equal to 50 hippies. 50 hippies, easily. So such a man was Govinda Maharaj. And unfortunately, you know, we can see in the history, if you study it, look deep into it, and it should be there. We shouldn't ignore history and bury it as something that's unpalatable. Prabhupada says sometimes we have to speak the truth. And I'm not going to get into that now because we have Madhavananda. We have Madhavananda. You can speak to him in private. He will tell you how Maharaj, Govinda Maharaj, was sidelined. He will tell you the real story. And I'm grateful to him for sharing many things he's told me in the past. I always keep it private, but I keep it for my own understanding, because we should not bury history as something unpalatable. If it happened, it happened. Just like in South Africa, we were working in a fascist regime, or in the USSR, we were working in the Soviet Union, where they murdered and incarcerated babies with their mothers in Siberia. Did we bury that? No. Do we exclude that from our history? No. We know who the demons are, and we know who the pure devotees are, and there's a difference. There's a very big difference. So we shouldn't bury things. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Radha Prabhu. Really good. I didn't know you were even here in Mayapur at this time. I didn't even know you were here in Mayapur.
Just publishing a book.
Oh, you have another book you're publishing. What's the other book?
I'll show you the trailer.
I'd like to see. Hare Krishna. Radha Prabhu is a really good writer. And you should. What's the title of your book, Prabhupada in South Africa?
Journey in Pursuit of Enlightenment.
My Life's Journey in Pursuit of Enlightenment.
Biography, but I like to glorify my god-brothers because without my god-brothers, there's no hope. It's because of them that we have a future. They have sacrificed so much of their lives. And for instance, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he's another classic example, like Govinda Maharaj. I don't say they're the same, they're different. But as you were rightly saying, that Krishna, he sends these special representatives. I was thinking about it the other day. And we can forget a Prabhupada disciple that has passed on. We can forget about them. But every year we come together at Vyasa Puja and the disappearance to remember their glories. And we're fortunate that we have that. We have Madhavananda and other godbrothers who were intimately linked with them to remind us of their sacrifices, how they sacrificed their lives, how they were attacked, how they were imprisoned, how Maharaj was sent packing to a jail in Romania. And because one devotee was in an accident, and actually he was the problem.
Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj.
No, there was Chitraketu Prabhu was associating with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, traveling in the communist country of Romania. And they had an accident. In those countries, they seize the vehicle, they put you in jail, everything. East Germany as well. And so Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj said to Chitraketu, you'll never survive this. I will go to jail and you will stay out of jail. So this is how pure devotee thinks. But he also realized, I am a black man and they will not punish me like a white man. So I will take the rap and I'll convince them to let me go. And that's how it happened. So, you know, what Vaishnava will go to those lengths to save the neck of a godbrother? Not many. Mm-hmm. Not many.
Hare Krishna. Thank you again, Prabhu. Maybe should I tell one story? You're provoking everybody with this thing. It was very difficult for a lot of, especially the Indian-bodied devotees, when they came to Krishna consciousness, especially the sannyasis. I've heard this from Bhakti Charu Maharaj and Lokanath Maharaj and a number of devotees, because there was a kind of like American CIA, GBC, senior devotee kind of thing, controlling a lot of things. And they didn't really understand the Indian-bodied devotees so well. So Gour Maharaj, he was pushed onto the position of being guru, and like I think someone can correct me, I think it was 1986, they voted for him to do that. And at that time, the GBC, one of the main GBCs in Europe, arranged for him to come to Europe. And it was the first time he'd ever flown in a plane. I spoke to his personal servant. They were on the plane going from Bhubaneswar to Kolkata or something initially. It was the first plane ride. And then from Kolkata to Europe. And Gour Maharaj saw this lady going up and down the aisles giving people drinks. And he'd never seen anything like that before. He's from a small village. And he turned to his servant and said, what is this lady doing? And he said, oh, Maharaj, that's the stewardess. That's her job. Gour Maharaj said, this is Maya. And he wouldn't take anything. And he stayed up the whole night. There was an all-night long flight. He stayed up the whole night just chanting japa. It was a very different cultural thing for him. And it was also a very different cultural thing for a lot of the Western devotees who knew about Krishna consciousness from Srila Prabhupada, but in America or Europe, and they weren't used to Indian kind of sadhus. When Gour Maharaj first went to, someone asked me not to say names about this, so I'll be careful. Went to one European city. He was giving some classes there on the request of the local GBC guru. And at one point, one senior devotee who Srila Prabhupada had personally told to give donations to ISKCON Bhubaneswar invited him to come to his home to give a talk. So Gour Maharaj didn't think anything about it, and he went to that devotee's home and he gave a talk. He didn't know that Prabhupada disciple was persona non grata in that zone at that time. He was considered to be like a demon because he wasn't following the local zonal acharya. There was things like that going on in the 1980s anyway. So when Gour Maharaj went back to the place where he was staying, and that local zonal acharya GBC was there, that person called Gour Maharaj in the room, and he was a group of his disciples with him, and he started shouting at Gour Maharaj in front of his disciples and chastising him. Who told you could go to this devotee's house? You had no right to go there, nonsense, this. And he started chastising Gour Maharaj very heavily. And then he told him, get out, go. This is the first time he'd ever been outside of India. He didn't know the local language in that country, which was not English. He had no money. He had no tickets. He didn't know anybody to go to. He had nowhere to go. And Gour Maharaj just laughed. His servant told me this story personally. He just laughed. He said, very good. Christian's arrangement, and he just walked out of the room with zero idea where he's going to go, what's going to happen. That was his attitude. And at that time, you know the place where he was at, I think, Shoti Maharaj. I can talk to you about it later. You know these things more, even if you don't realize. At that time, there was one young devotee there who saw everything that was going on, and he was inspired. He's like, let me get a ticket for you, Maharaj. And he arranged some ticket for him to go to another place and like that. But that always struck me very much. And what Ridha Prabhu was saying, how it was hard for him. And he was somewhat abused in some ways, perhaps, by some of his god brothers. I mean, all of us are abused. Living in an institution means you get abused.
Profound thing that I've heard, the most profound thing that I've heard, and it only came to my attention not long ago, that Srila Prabhupada requested him to initiate on his behalf.
Yes.
And there were very few people that he gave that order to. Gaur Govinda Maharaj was not self-elected. He was not self-promoted. And he was ordained by Srila Prabhupada directly.
Guru Maharaj spoke about that sometimes. He said that Prabhupada was there for 17 days in Bhubaneswar. That was 1977. At that time, Prabhupada didn't stay more than a few days anywhere. But Prabhupada stayed for 17 days there. And at one point, Prabhupada called for him to his hut. And Prabhupada spoke, Guru Maharaj spoke many things, and some things which are very confidential. Guru Maharaj wouldn't speak about those things, but he told us a few things. One thing that he told us is that Prabhupada, at one point, he kind of pointed out the window to the many devotees who were there, many Prabhupada disciples. And Prabhupada told our Guru Maharaj, he said, they all have problems and they can't stay here, but you should stay here. And Guru Maharaj did that. And Prabhupada told him, he said, you tolerate, cooperate. That was his instruction for those devotees. So he gave him a number of instructions. And one of the things that he told him, Guru Maharaj mentioned once or twice, is that he said that Prabhupada told him that I want you to have your own men. I want you to initiate disciples. And Guru Maharaj was horrified. I mean, if that happened to me, Hare Krishna, I don't know. Some of us, we might be very eager for such a thing like that. But he thought that was terrible. And he said, no, Srila Prabhupada, I don't want to be the head. I want to be the tail. And Prabhupada told him, no, I want you to do this. And so then Guru Maharaj accepted that, so much so that he would chastise the disciples if they didn't do the service properly. There was one Mataji who was living outside. She had a family. She was busy with things. She couldn't do any service. She approached Guru Maharaj asking for service. Guru Maharaj told her, you should make a garland every day. Usually in Bhubaneswar, they were offering, I don't know, between, let's say, 6 and maybe 10 or 15 or 20 garlands a day to Guru Maharaj when he would give class. He had so many garlands, you'd have to take them off because it would cover his head. And he put them on, literally, he put them on the Vyasasan. At the end of the class, he would throw them to the devotees. So it wasn't a very significant service in one sense for her to make a garland. But she took it very seriously. This is my service to my guru. And every day she'd make the garland, give it to one of the men, and they would offer it to Guru Maharaj. And one day she was sick or something had happened at home and she couldn't come and do her service. And she thought, anyway, what's the big deal? There's 20 other people who are going to offer garlands. So she didn't do it. The next day when she came, Guru Maharaj saw her and stopped, and he chastised her. He said, what are you doing? You didn't do your service. You should do your service. From an external perspective, it may sound a bit proud or something, but he wasn't like that. He was concerned, this is her service. And he accepted this similarly, in a similar way, the position of being guru. And he would demand from the disciples, he would chastise them. I know. I got Guru Maharaj's blessings on a number of occasions, so I got to travel with him as his personal servant. That wasn't the best blessing. The best blessing was how he would hit me sometimes and chastise me, sometimes even in public. Once on a plane in front of a bunch of non-devotees, he started shouting at the top of his lungs at me and beating me. That's a real blessing. And he demanded that from the disciples. So anyway, I was just thinking this with Ridha. I'd really like to hear something from... He was very strict. He was very, very heavy. But also at the same time, I don't know who was speaking this earlier. I don't know if it was Shroti Maharaj or maybe 𝗏𝗏 Prabhu. But he was, I think it was Shroti Maharaj. He was the greatest friend you ever found in your life. And he had so much love and so much affection for you. I've never had anybody who I felt loved me as much, not my mother, not my wife, I'm sorry. Not anyone who loved me in the way that Guru Maharaj loved me.
I think that's a very good point. He was very sweet. I can just visualize him. He was in the manor in the guest room on his bed. He sat on the bed cross-legged. You know how he would sit in the lotus position. He called me in. And he was like a child. He had his gamsha, he had his books there. He was very simple. He was a true sadhu. He didn't have a flashy briefcase, a flashy watch. He didn't have his own bank account or anything. He was just a real sadhu. And, we have to recognize that because there are a lot of fakes.
Guru Maharaj used to he had a set of notebooks, which recently we just scanned all of them, at about 20 notebooks or more, that he kept notes on for classes. And he would wrap them up in cloth, like old Indian style, like an old pundits would do. And he would carry those with him everywhere. And a few times he would pat those books. Once he came back from the GBC meetings and said, everyone had their computer. He said, I don't have a computer. I don't know computers. And he patted the books and he said, this is my computer. He was a very, very simple personality. I remember when he came to Los Angeles in 1994, I joined in LA. And I had some friends there, and there was one old friend that I really wanted him to meet Guru Maharaj. And that's a very dear devotee, 𝗓𝗪 Prabhu. Some of you know him. And 𝗓𝗪, he's a bit of an avadut, and he was also a very, very simple personality. And somehow he liked me. We had some relationship. And I went to see him when Guru Maharaj had come. I said, would you like to meet my Guru Maharaj? He said, okay. That's 𝗓𝗪 Prabhu. And he had and I don't want to say something a little negative. He was just a very avadut. He had a pile of clothes, like these old dirty clothes and torn clothes in a big pile in the middle of his room. And what he had on at that time was old torn kurta or something. And it wasn't nice enough. So he took it off and he dug through the pile and he found something which had holes in it, but not as many. And he put that on. He was a real kind of avadut person. And they brought him to meet Guru Maharaj, and he'd never met him before. And when Guru Maharaj saw him, his face lit up in a way that I hadn't seen, actually, when he met many God brothers, because he could just instantly, I think, see the simplicity and the depth of 𝗓𝗪 Prabhu. And Guru Maharaj grabbed him on both arms, and he was, oh, so good to see you. And 𝗓𝗪 is kind of, he wasn't a sociable person at all. He became a little nervous. And Guru Maharaj just took him and sat him down on the sofa. And Guru Maharaj sat down next to me and said, you're doing such nice service, translating so many books. And at that time in Los Angeles, I was on the temple board a little before that. And they didn't understand 𝗓𝗪 Prabhu either. And there was a proposition to the board once that we should kick him out because he wasn't doing any service. All that he did was he translated maybe 400 books of the Goswamis, or a few hundred books of the Goswamis. He was just giving his everything for that, but he wasn't cleaning the temple or collecting money or doing those kind of things. So they considered he's not doing service. Anyway, Guru Maharaj liked him very much. He's a kindred soul in that sense. I'd like to ask 𝗕𝗏 Prabhu to come up and say a few words. I think 𝗕𝗏 Prabhu, I'm sorry.
Oh, hang on. Give them one.
Okay. Please take the mic. We can't hear you very good. My hearing's not very, very good. There's also a lot of devotees online too. Thank you, 𝗕𝗏 Prabhu.
Okay, I just want to say I have read some of his books, but by meeting a couple of his disciples, including yourself, I have great respect, reverence, and appreciation for Gaur Govinda Maharaj. I never met him personally. And if you allow me, perhaps to change the month in the poem, I'd like to recite Prabhupada's poem to his spiritual master, because it contains all the appreciation and the amazing mystery of the conditioned soul being the active Bhagavatam, dynamically reaching out, reaching through the the material condition to to invite the Jiva soul back to Godhead. Adore thee all, the happy day, blessed in heaven, sweeter than May. He appeared at Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, his divine grace. O my Master, the evangelic angel, give us thy light, light up thy candle. Struggle for existence, a human race, the only hope, his divine grace. Misled we are, all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wonder thy ways. Thank you for the background music. Wonder thy ways. Misled we are, all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wonder thy ways, to turn our face. Adore thy feet, your divine grace. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy the illusion's toll. Darkness around, all untraced, the only hope, his divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, a healthful life as Chaitanya wrought. Unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity, thou hast moved. Gives us a life anew and fresh. Worship thy feet, your divine grace. Now this is the kicker. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna, forceful and bold? That's your right. You have the mace. Save us a fall in your divine grace. What's the last line? The line of service is drawn by you, is pleasing and healthy, like morning dew. The oldest of all, but in new dress. Miracle done, your divine grace. Hare Krishna.
Wow. That was a very sweet maraschino cherry on top of the sundae. Thank you very much. Poetry is really the best, and especially Srila Prabhupada's poetry. Thank you for reminding us that so much. Not to my knowledge. I've never seen, I've heard about that, but I've never seen that poem. I'd like to find that. So I'd like now, I think I'm out of speakers, but if anybody would like to say something, or if anybody has any question or reflection. Yeah, I saw. Let's see. Vrindavaneshwari would like to, Mataji, would you like to come up here, Mataji? It'd be easier for us. And then maybe Vrindavaneshwari also afterwards. Thank you, Vrindavaneshwari. We should understand one thing. When we do these kind of functions, we're not always so used to doing this. I'm fortunate I live in Puri and I go to I'm invited to many different functions with the Gaudiya Math, sometimes even Babaji's or Goswamis. And they have functions like this and they do them a little differently than we do. Sometimes it's not just stories or whatever, but as we were hearing from Vaishnava Maharaj and others, they quote a lot of Siddhanta, a lot of Shastra, and there's also a Sangha, and devotees offer comments and they have reflections and things, and we'd like that. Mataji, you're going to sit down on the ground? Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Can everybody see you okay and hear? You have to keep your mic close to your mouth.
Yeah, I beg your pardon, Maharaj, for coming up in the front. All glories to Gour Govinda Maharaj. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksul 𝗏𝗏𝗏 Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I have two pastimes of Maharaj, which I want to share with you. And it's so amazing. In 1986 or 87, he came to Canada in Vancouver. So I'll have to tell you a little background story so you'll understand the greatness of Maharaj. There was one Gujarati businesswoman's young girl. She was forced to get married in India by her father. So she ran away after her marriage and chastised her husband never to touch me. So she literally ran away to England, her home. From there, she went to Bhaktivedanta Manor, where they had this program of Mahabharat Club, which was attracting many Hindu children, and I was having a lot of problem in Indian families, because the kids were so attracted by this Mahabharat Club, and they were giving them the real understanding of Vedas and everything. So she was one of them. And then because she was married, she didn't want to be caught by her father again. So she came to America. From New York, she came to Vancouver somehow. So her father came searching for her, right? And of course, finally he came and the family settled. But the fathers and the whole family was so against ISKCON, saying that you are taking away our children from us. And so, they were Pushti Margi. They're doing 4 or 5 times puja in the home, worshipping their deities, putting them to sleep like they do in Pushti Marg. So you know how strict they are. But they'd never come to ISKCON temple, whereas she really wanted, she was coming actually. Finally, they got over that. And then one day she invited me to her home and I chastised her. I said, if they want to go to temple, why don't take them to any temple? It doesn't have to be. Just be nice to them, then they'll be favorable afterwards. So she started doing that. So then all of a sudden I hear, of course, at that time, 𝗏𝗏 Maharaj came, and the next thing I hear is he's staying at their house. Can you imagine? He's staying at their house. I was shocked. Then I see their families, their faces all lit up, very happy. They're coming to Sunday feast and spending 4 or 5 hours cleaning and cooking the feast, So now you can understand, his blessing, his mercy. Not only that, but the daughter was finally given permission to take initiation from the local guru over there who was American, which was another shocking thing, right? So anyway, so she got initiated. The whole family was very favorable by his grace, his mercy. Just imagine, huh? So another small pastime, but this is very educational. Like Prabhuji said, something like he could not even lift up when he would go and pay his obeisances because of his bodily situation. And then he said, you have to clap in front of the deities. So your karma completely changes. Look at my hand. I was supposed to leave my body when I'm 17. Look at my head. So that's what he said. So when you clap in front of Krishna and you become devotees, your life completely changes. And see, I was supposed to be gone by 17. Look what happened. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to God.
Very nice stories and very well told. Thank you very much. So, 𝗏𝗏, would you like to come up and say something? I would encourage you, 𝗏𝗏, either to sit down here or stand up so that everybody can see you. So it's easy. She's a bad example. Don't follow her. Uh-oh. See, you cause trouble, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. My English is not very good. I will try my best. I never met 𝗏𝗏 Swami in person, but I met him first time in his books. It was in the end of 90s. I studied English, and in my country there were not so many English books, and in one devotee's home I found some books, and later realized it was 𝗏𝗏 Swami's books. I remember one of them was, I think, Guru Vandanam. It was a small book, but I'm not sure, maybe. And I started reading. His language is very simple and it's very easy. It was very easy to read. And the more I was reading, the more I felt energized, and his words was very simple and very clear and very powerful. And what is interesting, why I was very impressed by his books, at some moment I started it's very sentimental experience, but I started hearing singing, like some beautiful melody. While I was reading, I felt this I not reading, I was hearing a song. No, I thought maybe it's just I was at that day in some special mood, and therefore I felt something like that. But every time when I took his book, I felt the same, like somebody was singing. I never had such experience before, reading another books and whatever books, ISKCON books, and later only with Govinda Swami's books I had such experience, like somebody was singing while I was reading. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ridha Prabhu's saying nice things about me and things which are not really deserved, but that's the mood of a Vaishnava. They see good even when there's no good there. Somehow we've had some association with Guru Maharaj and we speak about him. But I've found a humbling thing over many years. I've met many devotees who have very deep realizations of relationship with him, deeper, I think, than my own, through his books, through his teachings or whatever. And that made me very inspired. And it's one of the reasons why we do this today. It's one of the reasons why we made this book, When Good Fortune Arises. It's two parts to this book. I compiled the first part about Guru Maharaj's life story, and the second part is his teachings, because you can't separate the two. And I wanted to do something which would please him. And he's not happy just to be a big personality. He once told us, he said, don't be so concerned about presenting me, present my teachings. And we wanted to do that. He gave his life, as Ridha Prabhu and a few others were mentioning, how Guru Maharaj would travel. He was crippled. He couldn't walk. It was very, very difficult for him. He was supposed to walk with a walker or be in a wheelchair, but he wouldn't do that. He just took a cane in one hand and he would mercifully put his hand on the arm of a disciple to walk with him. When we go places, when he'd offer obeisances, it had to be two devotees, one on either side, to pick him up. But he was traveling like that continually. It's an amazing thing, because he very, very much wanted to serve Srila Prabhupada's mission. And we do this program. It's always a little funny for me doing it, because I look out here at everybody, and honestly, most of you I don't know. And personally, I'm not really into platform speaking in front of a lot of people we don't know. We've done a lot of that. But I prefer much to be in small sanghas, which was Guru Maharaj's mood. He liked to speak to people who wanted to hear from him. So I always kind of wonder in some ways, what are we doing this for? Because I don't want to just come and bang on a drum and say, this is a great person. He's the Acharya, he's the this or that, in a kind of obnoxious way. But what we want to do is we would like to give some opportunity to the devotees to hear something from him and about him as a way to help continue his service for Srila Prabhupada. It's something like if someone's sitting on the bank of the Ganga, I guess it would be the other side of the Ganga, in the early morning, and they're watching the sunrise, and you come and stand right in front of them, and you block their view, and you start jumping up and down and telling them that the sun is so great, the sun is so wonderful, the sun is this and that. And finally the person says, do you mind, could you just get out of the way and let me see the sun? So that's always been my personal mood in the books that we've compiled of Guru Maharaj and writing his life story, that I wanted as much as possible to stay out of the way and let people have the dignity to meet him on their own. And that's why we're doing this today. And if somebody can find something good or inspiring from his life or from his teachings and helps your service for Srila Prabhupada, for the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because it's not everyone who appreciates him is in Prabhupada's mission either. There are many different Vaishnavas I've met who amongst Babajis and Goswamis and Gaudiya Math who appreciate Guru Maharaj very much. If anyone is inspired by his teachings and things, then I think he would be very, very happy. And it makes me very happy because it keeps him alive and it gives him dignity. I personally don't like just to have a big rah-rah kind of program with balloons and some Prabhupada. And this Mother Subhangi, when we speak about difficulties in the service of Guru, she's a wonderful example of someone who's gone through so much. And we asked her if she would speak a little earlier. She said, my body's shaking so much, I can't. How can I speak? But still, she does. And she goes on and she serves Srila Prabhupada. And Subhanga Mataji, thank you so much. Would you like to come up here? Is that possible? You want to stay where you're at? Can we give her a microphone somehow and fix up something? Thank you very much. I was really hoping you might say something, but I understand it's not so easy.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. When you were talking about this book, when good fortune arises,
we have Madhavananda Prabhu here, a representative, because the mercy of Krishna, as we read Srimad Bhagavatam, it is just flowing through, actually. Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam. And I was just meditating on this recently, that how does it actually become galitam for me, an ignorant fool? And that's just coming from the Guru. Like Prabhupada, even as he was leaving his body, not that I met Prabhupada, not that I've read his books, but through his disciples, I get to know that as he's leaving his body, he is spoon feeding us. He's not worried about anything else. He's literally spoon feeding us. How much love is that? I mean, difficult to comprehend. Likewise, Srimad Govinda Swami Maharaj, for me, is the epitome of real love. I don't think I understand Krishna. I don't think I understand many elevated souls. And I don't profess to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, but I do understand the love. True love exists for me because of him. So I end here. Thank you so much.
Gauranga Mataji, you'd like to say something? You want to come up here? All right. So you set a bad example and everyone's following you?
Hare Krishna. Govinda Maharaj was in Portugal in 95.
95.
95, yes. And I was Bhaktin that time. And our temple was very poor. And his body was big. So the devotees decided to find a hotel for him. So he was not in the temple. He was coming every day. He was there a few days only. He was coming to give class. So the first time I saw him, as someone else said, with my European clean mind, dirty, okay, I was very surprised. We came outside of the temple, small lane, but dirty street, huh? And the car came, and everyone was very excited. Oh, Maharaj is come, Maharaj is come, Maharaj is come. Okay. And I was like a little bit back, just observing. And someone opened the door, and he came outside. And it was very joyful, very happy, very smiley, and very big also. And immediately, just one detail, he came with around 30 Western, white, blonde, blue eyes devotees. So it was like, whoa, my God. Many devotees, most of them male. And someone was opening the door of the car to Maharaj come out, and I saw 30 bodies on the floor, flat. I said, oh my God, what is happening? What is happening? And they were there. And I was thinking, whoa, it's so dirty, it's not clean. What are they doing? And they were there paying obeisances. And Maharaj came outside, light, happy, blissful. Okay, we went up to the classroom. And as you know, the classes were very interactive. And I was in the corner just observing. And he was chanting during the class, chanting, shouting, speaking. Hey, and you, what do you know about this? So it was different. And I could see, and my point here is, I never met Prabhupada. I'm trying to love him. I never met him. But through Gaur Govinda Maharaj's relationship with his disciples, I try to imagine how you love Srila Prabhupada. I explain. I saw love in the relationship between his disciples to him. And I said, oh my God, if they love him so much, I can imagine how Srila Prabhupada disciples loved Srila Prabhupada. And to me, it was an amazing realization. And in the class, it was amazing because Maharaj was in the Vyasasana, and they were near him. All of them, they were completely near him. Like
sitting very close.
Very, very close. Like, I love you, I want to. And they were like this, hearing everything, not blinking their eyes, not looking around. And then, something that it was new also for me, suddenly he stops and he starts singing. And it was not Hare Krishna, it was a song. And all of them, they knew the song. And they were chanting and singing the song, very strange song. And then he stopped and he started quoting a verse. And everyone was quoting the verse. And I said, oh my God, they love him. It was my realization. They know everything. They are with him, heart to heart. And then he was shouting, and everyone was like this. Okay, he's shouting. And then he was speaking. And I saw a real relationship between guru and disciple. And I said, oh my God, this person is special. I saw love. Okay? So in my situation, almost 30 years ago, I could not feel, I was not desiring him to be my guru or anything else, to be honest. But I saw love, and that was very, very attractive. And because I was reading Srila Prabhupada books, I made a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And I said, they love him as I'm seeing here. So my relationship with Gour Govinda Maharaj is gratitude. I'm really grateful to him because I could see how can someone love Prabhupada so much. So Gour Govinda Maharaj, thank you very much. Haribol.
Thank you very much. It reminds me of something I just want to comment on what you're saying. Thank you for speaking from the heart and such a nice remembrance. And Prabhuji next. We want to meet Srila Prabhupada. And I know I joined in Los Angeles, and we would go to Prabhupada's room. We would go to Cheviot Hills Park where Prabhupada walked. We'd go to Venice Beach where Prabhupada walked, and there's Prabhupada talks. And it was only a few years. I joined in 82 in the temple since Prabhupada had been there. And we felt like really we got cheated. It was really, but I found over the years, our desire should be that we want to meet Srila Prabhupada. But let's not limit Prabhupada. Prabhupada's not just in the deity. He's not just in his books. He's not just in his movement. He's also in his devotees. Rupa Goswami describes Vishrambena Guru Seva. When we do service to Guru, it should be Vishramba. It should be so intimate that you become like the Guru. Sanatana Goswami in Krishna Lilastava, he says, Rupa Namashrita Vishta, that when someone takes shelter of the Rupa, the form of Krishna, or the form of Gurudev, Rupa Nama, the name of Krishna, Ashrita, then Avishta, Krishna enters into that person. And so I also felt like this when I met Guru Maharaj. I felt like I'm meeting Srila Prabhupada through him. And that we want that. Thank you very much for sharing that. But would you like to come up? Can you come up here and share something? Thank you. If anybody leaves and you don't take prasadam, then we have a tantric we're going to hire to curse you. Don't feel pressurized, but we really like everybody to take prasadam. And the devotees here somewhere have some coupons in the Sulabh kitchen. Mataji has coupons right here. Be nice to her. And this is Govinda. They have some coupons over here as well. But the Prabhupada disciples and sannyasi senior devotees will be going to Prabhupada's Samadhi through the back. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. What's your name, Prabhu? Sitaram. Oh, Prabhuji, thank you. You sponsored the feast today.
My temple, Juhu, Bhiwandi is called Bhiwandi. The temple.
Well, thank you. Juhu is called Juhu. This is Sitaram Prabhu, who I'm just meeting in person for the first time. We had some exchanges. And he kind of orchestrated and sponsored the feast for today for 1,000 devotees. Thank you. And he was just telling me, he said, no, it wasn't me. It was a Juhu temple. They put it together. But I think Sitaram Prabhu had a lot to do with it. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for that. I really appreciate it. So let's hear something from Sitaram Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So it's a great pleasure to be here, and it's like a dream sitting next to Madhavananda Prabhu and speaking this. I've been following him last 20 years. I have been following him last 20 years, hearing the lectures of Srila Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj. And every time you hear the translations he's reading. So for myself, I was born and brought up very close to the Juhu temple. So in the early 90s, most of the transit flights used to be through Mumbai. So because I was always playing in the campus there, I got the fortune to have only one darshan when I was, I guess, less than 10 years old, when I was 9 or 8. But that was only darshan which I did not understand, because Srila Gour Govinda Maharaj was giving a lecture in Prabhupada's quarter. And what a 9-year-old boy would do, just go for prasadam after the lecture. That was the reason I was there. But then Maharaj has his own way to go on, So, and he would roar when he would speak. So I heard that roaring, and that's what I had in my mind. Until in 2002, I picked up Krishna consciousness seriously. And I heard his lectures. Now as a brahmachari in Pune temple, 2003. So when I heard those lectures, I actually could recall, this is the personality whom I saw. And then kept on hearing his lectures. My personal realization of having the association of his Vani, that it really helped me to continue in my Krishna consciousness in ISKCON, especially in ISKCON. Because the kind of subjects he would pick up, the way he would narrate, it would be so deep. And we always talk about, religion. Isn't it true? There's so much talk about religion, Krishna consciousness. My experience was that rasa, the rasic devotion, used to come from his narration of Chaitanya Charitamrita. It would give so much nectar. One could forget the whole politics of 10 lifetimes, forget about one lifetime, And the clarity which he gave on the important subjects, because Maharaj had a very special role. He was already a very mature age. Then all of his godbrothers, because his godbrothers were like 20s, and by the time Srila Prabhupada left, they were in the early 30s. And Maharaj was already a mature age, and he was already a born Vaishnava, and so much of depth of devotion, so much of understanding of the philosophy. So there were so many things which the younger generation had questions on. For my life, when I just came across his conversations and hear his lecture, it was all smashed. It was all clear and the doubts were smashed. Like some of them, which I just made some notes, I will just share. One of the things was one disciple or a devotee was asking questions to Maharaj. And his questions were about problems, and so many problems in ISKCON. And Maharaj, this is a famous reply. Maharaj said, all the problems are in your mind. What is in your mind is what you're seeing outside. That's it. That was a reply for lifetime. For lifetime. He said, all the problems are in your mind, and what is in your mind is what you're seeing outside. That means you have to uplift yourself. Maharaj is, and he ideally lived it. Not only that, he just spoke. He lived all these things. Another incident was, one quote of his came across. Because many times, when we become devotees, in the initial few years, we have this feeling that we are so special. Because we have given up all the sinful path, and now we have become devotees, and we are having a spiritual master, and we are serving him. And one quote I came across: until you are chastised and corrected, you are cheated till then. That means being a disciple means always be enthusiastic to be disciplined. That was such a reflection in my heart. Another thing, we hear Vapu, Vani is more important than Vapu, isn't it? The instructions of the spiritual master is more important. So these are the few quotes we come across in our Krishna consciousness. In one of the lectures of Maharaj, one disciple was asking that Gurudev, after the spiritual master leaves, so it is said that Vani is more important than the Vapu. And in that conversation, Maharaj suddenly cuts off and says, Are you fool? Are you fool? The Guru is always with the disciple. It's an apparent consideration that is physically not there, but is always there. And we hear that from Srila Prabhupada. I always felt my Guru Maharaj is with me. So that was amazing statements which Maharaj would, clarify. At one point, there was a big, discussion about Guru Tattva, still going on. But because I was, apparently sometime in the initial days, I was hearing 2 to 3 lectures of his. And eventually one lecture But there was so much question and answers in our discussion about Guru Tattva. It would all be clear. Serving the mission of the Acharya and initiating spiritual master, the Shiksha Guru. But it happens when your Maharaja's position is so high. It's so, if you're immature, and if you immaturely try to quote him and follow, you will create only misunderstanding for yourself and the devotees with you. So I was trying to be very cautious and conscious to discuss his teachings in a very new devotees forum, the Deepa Tattva which he speaks. But all this was answered when ISKCON introduced the disciple course. Many of the books are his reference books. Many of the course material are his reference books. You know, that was one thing. And the way he used to speak, he introduced a complete special approach to recite Chaitanya Charitamrita. And also along with that, he would sing, you know, Shri, like, you know, one verse I would like to chant how Maharaj used to chant, you know. Very sweet. Sankirtana hoite papa samsara nashana chitta shuddhi sarva bhakti sadhana udgama Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. When I heard him chanting the 𝗚C verses like this, and along with that, the Panchatattva mantra and the Hare Krishna Maha mantra, it would be like a flood in the heart, which is completely dry. There was one very special experience I had when I started hearing, because you don't hear this. Maybe it's the authentic Maharaja's native place, Ghadaigiri, where they would sing like this. But in ISKCON, we never heard it. But this was Maharaja's special gift. Since then, I started reading and chanting 𝗚C in these meters, and it's so beautiful. I would like to mention two of my very close guides and friends who are disciples of Maharaj, because of, many times after hearing Maharaj's lectures, I would have some more questions. And I never knew. In the My Brahmacharya Ashram in Juhu temple, we had Vaikuntha-murti Prabhu, who is very close to Maharaj. It so happened that he had Maharaj's signed checks. He was finance accounts manager in Bhubaneswar. He was taking care of the accounts. So he had some checks. Maharaj used to keep in advance signed checks with him. So I would go and ask him a lot of questions, and based on Maharaj's teachings, he would clarify a lot of doubts. And then another personality, after moving here in Mayapur, we came across Her Grace Daamini Mataji. Everyone knows she's here in Mayapur. And she also used to emphasize a lot on being very strict in spiritual life, being very disciplined, and being very focused on the purpose of Srila Prabhupada. And these are some of my reflections. And I think Maharaj, on behalf, actually, we are a group of young devotees in Juhu, but we also have opened recently a small temple an hour and a half drive from Mumbai at Bhiwandi. A group of young 25 to 30 devotees very strongly following the teachings and guidance of Maharaj through his lectures. And on behalf of all of them, I request all the devotees to bless us so that we can continue serving the mission of Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj is an ideal. He's an ideal, like a person who would, he's his lectures, his force on being with Prabhupada, being with ISKCON is such that it's better to leave your body than leaving ISKCON. Such a force he had kept on the faith on his Guru and the mission of his Guru. And he would emphasize so much on teachings of acharyas. He would emphasize so much on Vaishnava behavior. Even in managerial meetings, he would sometimes say that we have voting rights, but on a very philosophical issue. Sadhus should sit together, take the teachings of the acharyas, and with a cool head discuss. It cannot be by voting. He would say, aggressively voting means there is a dog and 5 members are voting. And 4 of them say that it's a goat. And that by voting, dog becomes a goat. I said, this is not how we can run a spiritual organization. We cannot. It has to be discussed with a cool head from the teachings of acharyas. Maharaj, I want to be corrected. 3 missions, he mentioned. Preach to them.
You wanted to preach to the preachers. You wanted to show everything's in Prabhupada's books and show that everything is in Prabhupada's mission, Prabhupada's ISKCON.
Yeah. Thank you so much. His mission was preach to the preachers of ISKCON. In connection, it would be everything in Srila Prabhupada's books and everything is in his movement ISKCON. What else can be a better mission for a person within the mission of Srila Prabhupada to adopt this? Preach to the preachers means, like Maharaj used to give this in one class is there I heard in the temple hall once. This is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. That means all the members of this movement have to be always conscious about Krishna. But the question is, how many are? How many are always conscious about Krishna? That means, you have to be always 24/7. In our lives, every situation, we have to apply the principles of Krishna consciousness and take decisions. Not we become a devotee. Maharaj says, Sutta, Mita, Rama, Nira, Chinta. Wife, children, society, financial security. After that, I'm only Krishna conscious. No. I said, no, not like that. So much he emphasized on all these things. And actually, this changed my life. And this helped me to be in the movement and serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So, in one way, I owe my life to him. One last thing. Last year, unfortunately, the Samadhi of Maharaj was, for some government reasons, because of the road coming there, they actually had to demolish some part of it. So the Samadhi was shifted. When I came to know, I immediately reached there. So there was a whole discussion going on for 2 days because Maharaja's Samadhi, his divine body has to be shifted from there now to another place. So there were many engineers, devotees were working on it. So they decided to get you were not there.
I was overseas at that time.
I was there. So they designed an iron pipe. Like you have this water pipelines, you've seen big iron water pipes. So they purchased one pipe and they sealed it from down. First, they didn't seal it first, the exact location where Maharaj Samadhi is, they pumped it with the crane inside. First digged it around. If you see Bhubaneswar, it's all red mud. And suddenly when this whole pipe was going inside, exactly at that spot, light brown mud with salt started manifesting. Then 2 devotees told, this is exactly where Maharaja's divine body has melted. Because that when you give Samadhi, you put salt, and so with that salt. So I don't know, when I came to know this, A desire came to me in my mind that if I get some of that, in case it spills, I'll make one nice, beautiful samadhi for Maharaj if I get it. The devotee told me, Prabhu, you get down and you guide this whole thing. So I jumped inside, took a little sand of that auspicious body of where Maharaj's body was melted, kept it with me. If Krishna allows, I plan to build a very small samadhi for Maharaj with that in Barsana. So a plan of group of our devotees. So we request all of you to bless us so that we can serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada and be under the shelter of Srila Govinda Swami Maharaj. Thank you very much. I also would like to thank Madhavananda Prabhu, though I'm sitting next to him for the first time, but I've been following him, and I always, when I used to see him on the right side, on the left side, or reading, everywhere you can hear him if you hear Govinda Maharaj's lectures. So it is so special to sit with him and on this auspicious day. Actually yesterday, but we are celebrating it today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sitaram Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Srila Govinda Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
I do hope everybody blesses Sitaram Prabhu because he's sponsored the prasadam today and he spoke in such a very nice way. I have a little comment or two on some of the things you said. That Guru Maharaj, I remember one lecture he gave and he said, what is the meaning of ISKCON? It's the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Who's really a member? Somebody who's Krishna conscious. And then at that point, in front of about 100 or more devotees, he pointed at me and he said, Madhavananda, not yet joined. So although I had some good fortune, like a mosquito, to be close to Guru Maharaj, I still haven't joined. I have to honestly confess that. Thank you very much for which I really appreciate. Hare Krishna. So I had some thought to speak something. I wasn't really sure. And then at the same time, I get a message from Sarvadrik Prabhu asking me to speak about exactly what I was thinking. So maybe that's Krishna's arrangement then. Today is a Viraha Utsav. It's a festival of separation. Yesterday, as Prabhuji was pointing out, was a disappearance day of Guru Maharaj. We observed the festival on this day for many years because if we do it on yesterday on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance day, it's very, very hard for anyone to come. So we do it on this day instead. And I'd like to just share with the devotees a few things that I heard. I was also present here in Mayapur when Guru Maharaj left. And I'd like to share with you something about the very, very extraordinary, amazing way he departed, which I've heard from higher Vaishnavas commenting that it's like something out of the six Goswamis or something. It's a very, very astonishing story. Guru Maharaj began to, in late 95, 96, early 96, he began to complain some. And he told some of us that just as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta left this world early, I'm also thinking to leave this world early. But I have to ask permission from Gopal. So that was like in, late January. Guru Maharaj went to Gadagiri and he had darshan of Gopal. And later I spoke to his cousin, Ganesham Giri, and he said that they had a funny conversation at that time. The Guru Maharaj told Ganesham Prabhu that you'll see the opening of Gopal's new temple, but I won't. And Ganesham, he told him, but Guru Maharaj, you're older than me. How is it that I'll see it, but you won't see it? And he said, no, Gopal's pleased with you because you donated. Ganesham had the property rights to Gopal's temple, and he signed that over to Guru Maharaj and to ISKCON. He said, Gopal's pleased with you for doing that. So you'll see the opening of the temple, but I won't. And Ganesham told me, he said, I couldn't understand why he's saying that. And then Guru Maharaj returned to Bhubaneswar, and he did something else that was a little strange. Prabhupada sent him, in 1974, 75, sent him to Bhubaneswar to open a temple there. And one of the early things that he did was to open a bank account. And he was one of the signers of the account. And he'd always had that account. Guru Maharaj returned from Gadagiri and he signed that bank account over to the temple president. And this was the time of the Prabhupada Centennial Festival. He gave some lectures at that program. I was also there, fortunately. I remember I was supposed to do fire yajnas. I don't do that stuff anymore, but except for Haladar Maharaj, so don't ask me. But I was commissioned by the leaders to do some fire yajnas, and they wanted me to do it at the same time as Guru Maharaj's lecture. And I told him, forget it. And he said, but he's speaking in Odia. I said, I don't care what language he speaks in. I want to be there for that talk. And it was a little bit we were a little bit revolutionaries. We were a little bit difficult. I just refused to cooperate. I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to hear Guru. And I was very fortunate because that was one of the last lectures Guru Maharaj gave. And the last talk that he gave was in Bhubaneswar on Nityananda Trayodasi. And he said some things for me in that talk, which I hadn't heard him say before. He instructed me personally I should continue to write the magazine that we were doing. And I was a little astonished. Why is he speaking this in public? He never talks like this in public. But he said that thing. And then he came here to Mayapur. And I don't know, maybe he arrived here on the 5th or so of February. He was here for a few days, attending the GBC meetings. And we were also here. I was staying over in the IYF building. Where are we at? Over this way. And Guru Maharaj was writing in his diary. And later we translated, we looked at that last diary entry that Guru Maharaj made on the 9th of February. And he was praying to Gopal that, Gopal, please, may I have like-minded association. Please give me association with like-minded persons. And he was attending a GBC meetings. I came to speak with him that day about some GBC stuff. Wasn't so nice. And later in that day, there were two devotees who came to see him, one Prabhupada disciple and one Mataji who was initiated by Small Australia. And they had a question for Guru Maharaj. It was just a few devotees in the room. And the question was that why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu go to Jagannath Puri, and why is it that his desires were fulfilled there? Why didn't he go to Vrindavan or some other place? And Guru Maharaj was very happy with that question. Because there was some misunderstanding among some people, Guru Maharaj had stopped giving classes here in Mayapur in 95 and 90. He gave some Bhagavatam class, but he wouldn't give any darshans because some devotees didn't understand and didn't appreciate him. So he wasn't doing any public katha like that. And those of us who were here were very, very hungry to hear that Krishna katha. When Guru Maharaj spoke Krishna katha, as Mataji was saying, we tried to sit very close. And I had the service of looking up verses and reading the translation for Guru Maharaj. When Guru Maharaj would speak, I felt like it was like there was a window open to the spiritual world. And there was some rays of sunshine coming through that window and falling down on you. It was a very, very amazing experience to hear him speak. So we were sad that there was no Krishna Katha. And I think Guru Maharaj was sad too, because he used to tell us, he told Jagadamba Prabhu once, he said, you don't know, I'm in a very dangerous situation. He said, Krishna Katha is my life. And if I don't speak Krishna Katha, then I can't live. I'll leave this body. He spoke like that. And anyway, so they came to him with this question and he just lit up. I spoke to those two devotees later on. He just lit up and he began speaking this story that perhaps some of you know. And if you don't know, you really should hear about it. I think we have a small booklet outside. If there's some copies available called 3 Logs of Wood. And it's a story which is found in the book Embankment of Separation. It's an amazing story about Krishna returning from Dwarka to Vrindavan, which is the story of the first Ratha Yatra and his reunion with Srimati Radharani. It's a very, very intense story, very emotional story. And Guru Maharaj was speaking this story, and the devotees he was speaking to, our dear friend Bhakti Rupa Prabhu was there. And I heard about this from him and from several devotees who were in the room. Guru Maharaj was very, very effulgent and very, very animated when he was telling this story. And the story came to the point where Krishna had arrived in Vrindavan and he jumped off the chariot to meet with Srimati Radharani. And it was eye-to-eye union. And at that point, Mother Chandrika, Prabhupada's disciple who was there, she told me that something happened to him and his voice became choked up. Some tears came to his eyes. And then he told them, he said, I'm very sorry, but I can't speak anymore. And so they offered obeisances and they left. And then Guru Maharaj turned to the devotees who were in the room. Bhakti Rupa Prabhu was there and a few other of our God brothers. And he told them, give me the picture of Gopal. I had the good fortune in 1994 to travel for a few months with Guru Maharaj as his personal servant. And he would always insist that picture of Gopal has to come with him wherever and it has to be set up. He always remembered Gopal. He had so much affection and devotion for Gopal. So he asked for that picture of Gopal. And he told the devotees in the room, Kirtan Koro, do Kirtan. The devotees started doing Kirtan, and Guru Maharaj sat back on the bed and he looked at this picture of Gopal and he called out Gopal's name. And he closed his eyes. And he never opened his eyes again. And Bhakti Rupa Prabhu, who was there in the room, he saw something. Something was happening. So he ran to get a doctor. And he so happened he went to someone who's an old friend of mine, or old, since Guru Maharaj left, an old friend. His name is Damodar Swarup. He was initiated by one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, Bhakti Kusum Shraman Maharaj. And as a young man, Damodar Swarup, his parents were both disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Interestingly, his mother, on the request of her husband, she initiated disciples. She had about 300 disciples in Orissa. This is a little interesting footnote. Anyway, Damodar Swarup was an Ayurvedic doctor, is an Ayurvedic doctor. He won a gold medal from the World Health Organization for successfully treating AIDS patients. He's a really good Ayurvedic doctor. And he, although it's really difficult to contact him if you want to try to do that. But anyway, he comes from a family of many generations of Ayurvedic doctors. He has a PhD in Ayurvedic medicine. He's really a really good doctor. He asked his Guru Maharaj at one point if he could take Siksha from Srila Prabhupada. And his guru, like in 1974 or something, gave him permission to come to ISKCON. So he was here for some time, serving like that. So Bhakti Rupa went to get him. Very good doctor. And Damodar Swarup Prabhu told me later on what his experience was at that time. And he came and he took Guru Maharaj's pulse. And he told me that when he took his pulse, he was alive. He was still present. And then he took his pulse again a few minutes later, 5-10 minutes later, and he said that he'd gone. And Damodar Swarup Prabhu told me, he said, I've been a doctor for practically my whole life, and I've seen many people leave their body. I've seen many Vaishnavas, but I've never, ever seen any person with a departure like this. He said on his body, he had all the symptoms of Astasatvikara Bhav, of divine ecstasy. There's dasa, there's 10 different symptoms of Sudhira Prabhas. Sudhira Prabhas is one of there's 4 different symptoms of separation, 4 different types of separation. One of them is called Prabhas. Prabhas means from a distance. When Krishna goes to Mahavan or some forest during the day and the gopis can't see him for a few hours, that's called Prabhas Vipralamba. But when Krishna goes to Dwarka or Mathura, that's called Sudhira Prabhas. And that Sudhira Prabhas, The gopis don't know if they're going to see him ever again or not. It's the most intense. And of that Sudura Prabhas is dasa, there's 10 different symptoms. The last of which is mrityu, or death. And Damodar Swarup Prabhu told me, he said that he had all the symptoms of 𝗚់𝗃𝗃 on his body, and there was no medical reason why he left his body. He just became very, very ecstatic. And he just left this world. He said, I've never, ever seen another death like this, another person leaving their body in that way. So this is a festival that we observe today. It's a Viraha Utsav. But that Viraha Utsav means Visesh Guna, a very special quality of Rahasya Milan, a very confidential meeting. Just as Sitaram Prabhu was commenting that Gour Maharaj, he didn't appreciate when devotees would speak about separation from the Guru. He said, Hare Baba, Guru is always with the disciple. There's no question that Guru is not there. But externally, it appears that they're gone. And we may even wonder, we may think to ourselves, well, Krishna did a good job, right? The sun rises on time every day, sets every day at the same time, and everything's very beautiful. It's a very nice creation. But we may say, my dear Krishna, you made one mistake. Everything else is very good in your creation, but one mistake is there. And that mistake is that generally by the natural law of things, usually the guru leaves this world before the disciples. Usually the guru is older than the disciple. And for the disciple, how can the disciple go on to live? If you go to have darshan of Kirtana, Gopinath, and Ramona, you'll find the Samadhi of Rasikananda Prabhu. Rasikananda said that he entered into the deity of Kirtana Gopinath. There's a Samadhi there of his shoes and his flute. And surrounding that Samadhi, there's 6 or 8 small Samadhis. Those were disciples of Rasikananda Prabhu who left their body when their guru left. They couldn't tolerate that separation. So we don't know how to cry for Krishna. We don't know how to have feelings for Krishna, but we learn that when we come in touch with Krishna's dear devotee. And we don't know, as they say, how to cry, but when that person leaves, then we can learn something about crying for Krishna. And that's a Viraha Utsav. That's what we're trying to have here today. And I want to thank everyone very much for coming and taking part in this program. There's so many devotees who really helped. And I know it's something that we kind of do as an institutional thing. I don't want it to be like that. But I made a list, so I didn't forget anybody, of devotees who helped so much with this program today. And I don't want to forget anyone. Mukunda Prabhu, who helped us to get the place here. Andre Prabhu, who helped us put out the mats and gave us the key for the chairs and different things. Pavan Gopa Prabhu, who's right here, who's the most expert person in Mayapur for live streaming. This is the first year we were able to live stream this program. Pavan Gopal Prabhu, thank you so very much. I really, really appreciate it. Jai Gaurangi Mataji, who also helps organize the Sunday Feast program here. She was also helping with things. And Urugai Prabhu, who I think had to go out. And Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, they did some Kirtan and things for us. Ananta Gauranga Prabhu and the Mayapur Harinam party, they also helped so much. And Prabhupada 𝗏 Prabhu, who has been with me, helping me since I think 1994, 95, maybe 96, something like that, many, many years. And he helped us to translate so many of the interviews in this book and do so many things. And he practically single-handedly put on this festival. His name was Pradosh. And he didn't get initiated for many, many years. But Haladar Maharaj recently gave him initiation and gave him the name Prabhupada 𝗏. And what does Prabhupada 𝗏 mean? Prabhupada 𝗏 is a name for our Gour Maharaj. for Govinda Maharaj. And he gave him this name that, meaning you're the servant of Guru Maharaj. And Prabhupada Priyasevak Prabhu did such a nice, wonderful service. I appreciate so much. And I also want to thank Radha Prabhu and Shoti Maharaj and Sarvadrik Prabhu and all the devotees who've come and spoken in such a wonderful way. Thank you very, very much. So I want to make sure everybody gets some coupon. I'd like to request someone, Sarvadrik Prabhu, could you do a little kirtan? Because we should finish something with the kirtan. Just a 5-minute kirtan, something. Just somebody has a mridanga or something. You play mridanga, Prabhuji? Okay, someone can play mridanga. Just a 5-minute kirtan, and then we'll go to the Sulabh kitchen. Please get some coupons from the devotees. There'll be prasadam there. And for the Prabhupada disciples and senior devotees, we'll go to Prabhupada's Samadhi or Auditorium. Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi, Vanchakalpadrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya. I don't know how to play. No, my head either. Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Jayo Radhe, Jayo Krishna, Radhe, Jayo Krishna,
Jayo Radhe, Jayo Krishna, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Krishna, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Radhe, Jayo Gurudeva, 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 Jayo Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jayo Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Nitai, Nitai, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, 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 Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande, Jai Shri Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ki, Shri Guru Maharaj Ki, Shri Prabhupada Ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Just one last announcement. Tonight we have a really, really amazing video lecture of Gour Maharaj with subtitles in English at Prabhupada's Samadhi Auditorium downstairs. It'll be from about 5 o'clock to 6:30 or 7, like that. So everyone's invited. And anybody who comes there, it's a little bit of a secret, you get some free Jagannath Mahaprasad. So please
Can you say that again?
5 to 7 o'clock tonight.
About the last sentence?
Jagannath Mahaprasad.
Whoever come.
Yes, sir.
What time?
5 to 7 o'clock.
Thank you. Sometimes repeating the same thing is always very, very good.
Thanks for having me. I'm just your friend. In Govardhan retreat. Get inspired. Finish? Finish?
Yes. Spasibo. Spasibo Ghosh.
Thank you. I read the book, Good Fortune, 2 years back.